authenticity. And the question I pose to you, Andrew, and for the audience, I suppose, is the fruit of Rachel's labor actually reaching people outside of her circle, or is she performing an anti-feminist role for those who already agree? I'm not here to debate every claim she's made, her past mistakes, or whether she's grown through her mistakes. I don't believe I'm better than her or smarter than you, and I'm certainly not jealous of either of you. Realistically, people who oppose you will likely agree with you, or people who oppose you will likely agree with me, and people who support will likely, go the opposite direction. That's expected. And when we were scheduling this, you posed this as an opportunity for me, as if I needed your audience, but I don't operate under the illusion that people who follow you are going to end up liking me. I'm here because I stand by my claim that her stated intention doesn't have authenticity. Even on Joe Rogan, the women that she talks about drawing to her book are described as those who are too late and already blame cultural Marxism and feminism, or those who already align with her views. That does primarily seem to be a male audience. She does understand how the minority ideas can become dominant through women's suffrage being an example. Applying that logic strategically to her work in dense material and niche material, particularly occult dives, that most women are unlikely to engage with, even by her own admission. And if the book were truly for her daughters, it wouldn't need to be published or marketed as a #1 bestseller. That label is often achieved through narrow categories with minimal competition. Although the book did briefly spike after Joe Rogan, it fell quickly. So this is a marketing strategy, not a genuine sign of moving the cultural needle. It's easier now to voice agreement as cancel culture is kind of fading to the background, but increased openness is also not the same as persuasion. And by your own framing, the people who you're opposing lack both facts and moral grounding. So when you present in a way that doesn't attempt to reach them, it doesn't say authenticity. After years of building her platform, Rachel still hasn't had a meaningful target to these demographics she claims to care about. And I want to be clear how I'm approaching this. I'm not here to take personal digs. I'm here to argue that Rachel understands exactly what she's doing and what audience she's speaking to. When we both openly agree that these people are not capable of introspection, it only reinforces the point that there's no persuasion attempt here. And yeah, I look forward to a substantive, grounded debate.
Fantastic, guys. Well, now we're going to move in straight into opening dialogue. Now, obviously, Kim, you are the claimer here, so there's going to be quite a lot of cross-examination going on about the claim that you're making. So with that, let's dive right in.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So let's start, I guess, with the first claim.
Okay.
When you say authentic, I just want to make sure I got this right. When you're saying that she's not authentic, what you're claiming is that she knowingly is not trying to reach people outside of a specific demographic.
I would say so, and I don't even necessarily think that that's a bad thing. Like if you're trying to play to a sports crowd, you're going to talk about sports. If you're trying to play to anti-feminists, you're going to talk about certain things. But yeah, I don't think that indicates a genuine desire to convert people, which you guys claim is like a paramount to society, is something that we need to do in order to avoid collapse.
How does one go about converting people to their side if they have a message that those people don't agree with, without conceding to the other side's message?
Well, you don't necessarily need to soften or weaken or dilute the message, but the fact is, the way that it is presented in her case, on the one side, it's extremely dense and analytical, which very slim amount of people are going to appreciate, be it either man or woman. And then on the other side, it's the alienation. And I'm a total
hang on, let's
brute,
stop.
but I also don't.
I also don't. Here, hang on. So,
okay.
The question that I'm asking you is, if you write something, if I write a thing that you disagree with,
Right.
that's necessarily alienating, right?
No, just the existence of me disagreeing with it isn't necessarily alienating, but
Okay,
that's not
so
my
then
point.
what makes a thing alienating?
Well, so in the case of occult feminism, the goal, as she describes in the end,
No,
is
hang on. Before you get to that, just what makes a thing alienating? How do I alienate?
Well,
Exactly.
I would what the example I was going to give in the example of trying to reach females. If you're trying to reach a female audience who's less into analytical data, the way to do that is not by presenting them with a book they're never going to read.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question. How is it
How is it not?
alienating? Because you're not answering how it's alienating. If
Because
it's
you're
the
not
case that you
trying to, you're
write,
not,
yeah, but how does one prevent that if you write something that other people necessarily are going to? So in other words, there's a feminist. You write
Mhm.
like, let's say, just a manifesto against feminism.
Right.
That's necessarily going to alienate feminists.
Right. Again,
So I don't understand. I don't even understand the criticism. If I write an anti-feminist piece and I'm authentic about the anti-feminist piece because it's what I believe, that's necessarily going to alienate. So how exactly is this avoidable?
how is alienation avoidable? Well, I mean,
Well,
the
how's it
alienation,
avoidable? Well, how's it avoidable in this
in and of
context?
itself isn't the problem. The alienation is just a symptom of it.
Yeah, but I don't understand. I still don't understand. If I write something which is anti-government, right? And people are pro-government. It's good. That's going to be alienating necessarily. If I write anti-feminist
Right.
literature, feminists are going to necessarily
Again,
hate
like
it.
I said,
If
the
I write,
point
hang
of
on, if I
my,
write anti-woman literature, pro-women, people are going to hate. If I write, here's a good one, like anti-natalist literature. If I write anti-natalist literature, pro-natalist people are necessarily going to be alienated. So, like, I don't actually even understand the criticism.
again, the criticism isn't the alienation. The criticism is that if she's been doing this for over 5 years, she understands at this fundamental level what reaches people and what doesn't, and she plays to the audience that it's is gonna, agree with you. It's gonna agree with the slam dunks on silly women saying
Do you
stupid
think
things
that
about
do you think that
feminism.
Rachel ever thought for in a million years she'd be on Joe Rogan's podcast talking to millions and millions of middle of the road people about including Joe Rogan?
I mean, I don't think that
Do
I
you think
think
that
that
do you think she plotted it out
I
before
don't
she
think
was
Joe
so
Rogan's really
yeah.
that middle of the road when it comes to things like feminism. I think that um
I
the
think his audience
ideas
is.
I don't agree. I think that especially after the JD Vance and the Trumps and all that stuff,
Uh-huh.
he alienated and ostracized a lot of that fan base that was initially left wing. Um
No, I mean, he still has a massive moderate fan base.
okay,
Massive,
and
huge,
that
and they
didn't translate into people suddenly agreeing with her. So
yeah,
again,
but
like,
that's the what's in question here. What's in question here isn't whether or not there's going to be people who disagree with Rachel Wilson. There's going to be. The
that's
question
not
is
again, that's not the problem.
how do you reconcile the idea that
I
if you
think that
write
I
anything
think
and
that you
people
guys
disagree with it,
get
it's alienating?
just antagonistic enough, and I think that you guys get just edgy enough, but you won't take the final leap. And I
Well,
think
wait,
that
that's a
in
different
doing
hang on,
so,
that's a different argument. You're moving the goalpost now. Now you at first you said that she's not attempting to reach people who disagree with her,
yes, and
right?
that's part of that point.
Yeah, yeah, but now no, now you're making the claim that she's not doing things which are necessary to what? To convince who? Of what?
Well, if you need to convince people, the people that you need to convince are moderate men and the
Yeah.
less leaning women.
Okay, so
These are the
what you
people who are primarily affected
so how's she
by
gonna tell them the truth about feminism and not necessarily, have tons and tons of them resist that message? Like, how's that even possible?
I again, the point is not about the resistance to the message. The point is about the deliverance of the message, and she intentionally does so in a way that doesn't pander to anybody but people who agree with her.
Okay, can you give me an example of that?
Yes, like I tried to bring up before, she specifically went into on Joe Rogan. One of the reasons that this was such a niche appeal in the first place was because most women were not willing to do the deep analytical dive, and I think culture hasn't changed that much, and women haven't changed that much. So again, like the
Well,
target
hang on,
you're worried about.
she was talking then referencing specifically, scholarly works. So her criticism is that feminists themselves have revised history itself, and they've left out the occult roots, they've left out all sorts of the roots of
Well,
feminism,
she
and
also
that
brings up the
what
occult roots,
she's
but she won't
hang on,
brings
hang
up the
on,
roots
hang
of
on,
the
hang on,
occult.
hang on, let me make the case, right? And
Mhm.
her purpose is to revise that from a scholarly position. And she has. She's been revising it. She takes it to anybody who will platform her. She's willing to push in that this was revisionist history and that she's correcting the revisionist history. That's literally what the book is and what most of her appearances in media are about.
Well, if this society is doomed without this information, the focus should be on what actually wins people over and not performative outrage and negligible claims about successful book sales when we know that that's just a marketing campaign.
What? I didn't say anything about successful book sales. I
mean,
don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about Rachel's specific claims and Rachel's specific, ties to accolades that she like espouses to people.
So you just think that people buy her book because they already agree with her?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if in your debate club you told people to buy the book. I wouldn't be surprised if in your debate
so in
lessons,
all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of DMs that she's gotten, thousands perhaps, of people saying, look, especially women saying, I wish I had known this. Thank you very much. This assists me change my mindset. They're all just lying to her. They all just already agreed with her.
I mean, that's never what she talks about is people who have, like I said, either said that they have already agreed with her and they're happy somebody's talking about it, which is also the claim you've made. Or
no, I've
people
never
who
made
have
that
suffered
claim.
the cultural.
Hang on, stop. When have either of us made the claim that it's just people who agree with us who read her book? That you just made that up?
No, I said that you guys specifically said that the people who are messaging you, and it's been on multiple interviews where you talk about the people messaging you away are people who are generally people who have already succumbed to, like the downside of this feminist ideology and will not be able to have children.
No, that's a both. You're taking a position that's a both and you're leaving out the and part. I was like, sure, there's people who DM and will say things like, hey, I'm really glad somebody's finally talking about this type of thing. That's true. But you leave out the and part of the fucking
but you're using that as a
hang on, stop. My turn. Calm down. Where there's hundreds of people who send her DMs saying, I had no idea about any of this information. I didn't know that this was even going on. I really appreciate it. In fact, one of them was from Joe Rogan himself, who DM'd me, and I'll read it for you if you'd like.
Joe Rogan's claim was that he never looked into feminism before, and
he didn't know any of the information that was based in occult feminism, which is not just about feminism. I don't know why you say that either. So
it's not.
Did you read the book?
Claim.
Yeah, did you read the book?
I did, actually.
Okay, great. So that if you read the book, you know that this dives into more than just feminism. It's getting into occultish roots for how an ideology like this is even allowed to be pervasive in society at all.
Yeah, Rogan you'll refer to as heavily anti-Christian.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
Rogan himself said that he wasn't aware of any of this information. He told me, quote, the book is incredible, right? I really appreciated it. I didn't know any of this information. That's Joe Rogan himself said that.
Joe Rogan doesn't have people on because he's a well of knowledge. He has people on because he's good with debating or he's good with having interviews with people. He's good at getting people to talk.
What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? You just made the claim
like, oh, well, we changed Joe Rogan's mind. He had no idea. What are you talking about?
That's what he said. He said he had no idea about any of these.
How does that mean anything?
So if Rogan himself is saying, I didn't know any of this information. I didn't, have any understanding. Hang on, stop. Do you want me to answer the question or no?
But again, you're going off on stuff that doesn't actually answer the question.
It does answer I just told you there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people who have DM'd Rachel and said, thank you very much. This has been something. Wait, do you want me to just post all the DMs?
Yeah, I mean, sure. That would be fine.
Really?
We could pull them up here potentially if we wanted to. We could pull them up here, the DMs, if we wanted to, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll ask her. Sure.
Okay. And again, like people messaging you saying congratulations isn't evidence of a moving culture.
That's not what I said, is it? Can you repeat?
But that's the point that we're arguing about right now, whether or not she actually moves the needle.
I didn't say that people are DMing her and just saying congratulations, did I? Can you give me the and part? And what?
And I didn't know the information, but that doesn't mean that this is that's not a sign of conversion.
You changed my mind.
You gave me information.
I was incorrect. There's people in my chat right this second saying Rachel's changed their mind on feminism. I guess they're lying too.
Yeah, okay. I buy it.
They're saying it right now. They're saying it in the chat. What, like they're just lying?
Okay. Yeah, I do. I think that these are people who, again, are already
how do
coming
I
from.
verify that
If
any of
you
these
look
people
into
are
their
telling the
accounts, these are
truth?
people who are going to have been largely agreeing or staying neutral or staying out of it.
Yeah,
And like I said,
if they're
in my
neutral and
opener,
staying out of it, then she's changing their mind.
no,
So
she's not. There, it's
what?
just it's more culturally safe to be able to talk about these things now, and even you guys won't even go to the topics that aren't culturally safe. You'll talk all day about occultism, and you'll talk all day about Luciferianism. But what?
Are we getting to Jews?
Who
Are we
founded?
going to do Jews? Are you doing
Well,
Jews now?
they weren't
There we
celebrating
go.
Christmas, Andrew.
You got to do Jews,
They weren't
which has
celebrating
nothing to
Christmas,
do with
Andrew.
the context of the debate. So
Um,
anyway, the thing
yeah,
is,
it
though, is
does,
like,
because you'll talk
okay,
about
there we go,
you won't
Jews.
talk about the actual root of the problem.
Okay, fine. Let's
which
talk
is-
about the Jewish
Again, that
root
leads
of
to
feminism.
the argument of authenticity.
Okay,
if
hang
you
on,
won't be
You're
real.
right. Fine. Let's talk about the Jewish root of feminism. Can you demonstrate that feminism has Jewish roots?
I'm saying that in feminism, some of the leaders of the feminist movement, down to people like Margaret Sanger, wouldn't have gotten anywhere near as far as they did if they didn't have Jewish
Margaret
influence.
Sanger wasn't Jewish.
I said she has Jewish influence, but you didn't listen long enough to hear that.
Okay, what?
I said
what
that
was
if
it?
she didn't have
What
Jewish
was
support,
it?
it would. What do you mean? What was it? I'm explaining it to you right now. You're just talking over because you don't want to.
Just quickly, guys. Just quickly. Is the argument here that because the idea is that Rachel's book or that Rachel's influence is somehow inauthentic? Is the idea here that you think that Rachel is inauthentic because she's ignoring some sort of a Jewish influence? Just so we can stay on topic.
No, I don't think that the mere fact of her ignoring the Jewish influence means that she's inauthentic. I mean, I think it, like I said, she knows what audience she's pandering to, and she does it very well. But that doesn't lead to say that she's going to bring anybody new into that ideology. She's just going to stay where she's comfortable, and she's going to say things that are not going to. She brings them up literally one time in her entire book when there's multiple different points where a great majority of these movements that she's saying are a problem are orchestrated by people she won't name.
Okay, go ahead and tell me which ones.
I just did, Andrew.
You didn't.
Yes, I did. I listed.
You didn't.
Okay, yes, I did. 100%. We can
literally
roll back
didn't.
the tape. I was
Okay,
talking.
name one. Name one.
I said Margaret Sanger is a huge example. If she didn't have the support of. I didn't say Margaret Sanger was Jewish. I said that she wouldn't have gained the popularity she did without Jewish support. I'm saying blood magic wouldn't have been introduced to stuff.
What Jewish
occultism, the heavy ties into occultism.
Stop spurging and answer my question. What?
I'm not.
Jewish
I literally
support?
am answering
what
your question.
Jewish
and you
support
just keep insisting I'm not answering your question.
What Jewish support for Margaret Sanger? What?
What do you want me to list? You want me to go through and list every single person?
Yes, I want you to back up your claim. Back up your claim. What Jewish support? What are you talking about? What specifically are you talking about?
I just told you what specifically I was talking about. I didn't come with a list of names. It's not necessary. People can look that up.
So you made it up? So you made it
up?
No,
it's yeah, Andrew. I made it up. You
then
can look into this yourself. It's not.
Where's the evidence?
What do you mean? Where's the evidence? Do you really need evidence to substantiate that blood magic is a Jewish tradition and is heavily tied into occultism?
Margaret Sanger?
What do you mean with
Margaret Sanger?
You're talking about where the Jewish influence is and the stuff she's talking about and where she won't identify it. And I'm telling you, and you're actively like, well, no, you're not telling me. You're not telling me. You're not telling me.
What does any of that have to do with Margaret Sanger? What does it have to do with Margaret Sanger? What does it have to do with Margaret Sanger?
What does her support? What are the bigger
Jewish blood magic? What does it have to do with Margaret Sanger? What?
I didn't say blood magic had to do with Margaret Sanger.
Then what are you talking about?
I guess like the sacrificial element, you could start to make that argument, but I was just bringing up multiple points. That doesn't mean that they're all tied to Margaret Sanger.
What does blood magic have to do with feminism?
What do you mean? It's one of the key points she talks about in her books. Where did Luciferianism come from? Where did Luciferianism come from? And again, like, this is just a diversion from the original topic. The original topic is the authenticity. The reason she doesn't talk about this stuff is because she's not
talking enough about Jews.
No,
that's what your position is. Then what's the one step further that she needs to go?
that's one part of it. That's one small part of it is that she'll go to a certain extent, and then she won't take that final step.
Yeah, what's the final step?
Nice and comfortable.
What's the final step?
What do you mean? What's the final step?
What
Admitting
is it?
the full scope of
what?
which has more elements than just feminism. Feminism wasn't the root of the problem.
Yeah, but what?
All of the
is
ideology
it?
that feeds into feminism is
What
part of
is
that.
it?
I
then?
just walked you through all of that, Andrew.
So Jews.
Yeah, it's all Jews. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just Jews.
Well, what? The one extra step is Jews, right?
Again, the point was that not
Can you
that
answer my
it's because
question?
of the Jews. It's because she won't talk about certain things and she'll talk
What?
about others. She knows what
Yeah,
audience
what?
she's pandering to, and she
Yeah,
will
but what?
What do you mean?
You
Andrew,
just keep saying there's one extra step, and she won't take the one extra step. What is the one extra
fully
step?
identifying the full scope of the problem,
Which
and
is
then
what?
and then reaching the audience
Which
that
is
needs
what?
to understand
Yeah, but
why
what's
are
the
they
full scope
who
of the
they're being
problem?
manipulated by, why they're being
What's the full scope of
manipulated.
the problem? What's the full scope of the problem? What is it?
I mean, you're a Christian nationalist. You understand what subversion is.
You're not. That's not answering my question. What's the full scope
You
of the
keep saying
problem?
I'm not answering your question, but like there is
You're
want
a Christian nationalist is not an answer to my question. What's the full scope of the problem?
the full scope of the problem.
Yeah.
Is that if you're trying to give analytical dives, you should be fully transparent about all of those analytical dives. Furthermore, it's like I said, it speaks to authenticity. You'll only touch certain problems and you won't touch others. You'll only talk to people who are in your camp already and not others. There's a reason why her story isn't relatable and it's alienating people. And it's not like you guys don't understand this. You know this, and you get off on it. You get off on being the thought slayer, and she gets off on dunking on feminists.
Yeah, I'm still confused though as to what the totality of the picture is that she's missing. You haven't actually explained that. You just say that there is stuff, but you won't say what it is.
I have said what it is multiple
What is
times.
it?
Again, this is all an opinion-based argument. You wanted to get upset with me because I pointed out.
Can you answer my question?
You could do this all night. It's not going to change anything. Even when I do answer your question, which I have been doing multiple times, you'll just pretend that's not an answer.
You haven't
because
actually
you don't.
Here. Okay, hang on. Maybe we can try this a different way, so that we can actually get to the heart of the matter. You are claiming that Rachel will not address the larger problem. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll talk about the 19th Amendment all day.
Okay, hang on.
We'll talk about why feminism failed women.
I got it. I got the yes. I understand. What in feminism is she refusing to address? What?
Again, it's not that feminism is what she refuses to address. It's the audience that she claims that need to get this information most. It's the audience that she addresses the least.
Okay.
So that leads to a lack of authenticity.
Hang on, you just said in feminism, there's things she's not willing to address on the topic of feminism.
Yes, it's another reason why she's inauthentic.
What is
I told you, like the roots of all the stuff in her book heavily tie into other things she won't talk about.
What?
And she'll pearl. Okay, well, another example is the pearl.
What are they?
If you just want to go back and forth and have me read off this list again and again and again, that's fine. But you're pretending when I'm actively telling you. It's like the whole schedule debacle all over again. You'll just ignore little bits of information to pretend and to completely redirect and derail the conversation and to unfocus
this
people.
The heart of your criticism? How is it a derailment?
No, the heart of my criticism is that she's inauthentically trying to says she's trying to reach people that she's not trying to reach.
The reason that you're claiming she's authentic is because there's things that she's unwilling to address in regards to feminism.
That's part of it. Yeah, that is part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So then let's one part at a time, since that's part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Inside of Rachel's critique of feminism, let's pretend all of feminism
I already told you I'm not here to argue the merits of her point.
Hang on. Calm down. Calm down. You're spurging. You're spurging. Let me at least ask the question.
You're gaslighting.
Let's pretend that all of feminism is inside of a box. Everything that everybody will ever know about feminism exists inside of this box. Rachel's focus is everything inside of that box and disseminating all that information to everybody that she possibly can.
Yes, Andrew.
What inside? Can you let me answer? Can you let me answer? Can you let me at least ask the question? So everything that's inside of this box is feminism. She wants to disseminate all of what's inside the box. What
She
are you
doesn't.
claiming is inside that box of feminism she's refusing to engage with or disseminate? What specific things?
Other than what I've already listed,
Yeah,
we could
what?
go into the argument of the repealing of the 19th Amendment. She's willing to talk about why women voting means, or the lack of women voting would mean that Democrats would never get elected again.
Yeah.
But when someone pushed her on that, and the idea of like if things coming up by race came up, yeah, the same thing would apply. But she's not willing to say that because she's a coward.
Because it wouldn't apply.
Yes, it would.
No, it wouldn't.
What's the percentage of the black population that votes Republican, if they can vote at all?
Locally or nationally?
Nationally.
Well, nationally, they almost all vote Democrat.
Okay,
But locally,
so like
that's
I
not the
said,
case.
how is that different from
Because it's not the case locally. For instance, in California, gay marriage never got passed. They had to use a constitutional amendment because blacks voted against it.
Okay.
Specifically black men. So when it
in
comes
California.
to
So yeah, we're gonna use state by state.
So when it
specifics, but
comes
homosexuality is not the same.
hang on. Can you calm down for a second? I'll explain.
I'm totally calm.
So when it is the case, right? First of all, these would be two separate arguments too. You would be discussing teleology and purpose. So unless you're saying that there's less of a purpose for one than the other, I don't actually understand the argument. It's a teleological argument, but ultimately, when you're talking about the national level, yes, that's true. Almost all black people vote in uniformity for Democrats. That is correct. But the problem you have with that though is like Hispanics, for instance, in mass migration, actually beginning to flip the Republican way. So does that mean I want more migrants? Hang on. Does that mean I want more migrants? No, of course not. Even if it was the case that they came from more traditional Christian countries. So the racial element of the argument is bizarre on its face. But even if I were to grant it, you're not actually telling the whole story there. That's the first problem. And then the second problem that you have is when Rachel's addressing the 19th, she did specifically say, yeah, that would include black women. So what?
Okay, no. And then when it was pushed on her, she pearl clutched over the idea that you would have any problem with identifying the problem as larger than just black women. I would never do that. She said it was atrocious. Like, I'm sorry. Are you trying to not offend people?
Are you saying that
trying to be honest?
How would that appeal to more moderates?
I'm not saying. Again, from the beginning, I said you don't need to soften the message. You need to direct it in a way that is going to be heard.
So
that doesn't mean you softened it or change it.
Yeah, I see. I understand. So let's say that Rachel, let's just say that she changes her message tomorrow. Just like for whatever it is that you want. She makes it.
I don't need her to change the message.
She makes it more. Hang on. So would you chill out, lady? Let's just say that she makes it way more racialist or whatever it is that you want. How does that actually bring her opposition in again? Her opposition of progressive feminists?
How does addressing the audience that she wants to attract allegedly help her cause in attracting that audience?
How would that first of all, what audience do you think she wants to bring in here?
She claims that she wants to bring women up in knowledge. She wants to convert them. And she's not doing so. Again,
yeah, but how would her being more racialist
does not match up with the outcome?
How would her how would her being a racialist do that exactly?
No one's asking her to be a racialist. I'm asking her to be honest.
Yeah, but
which both of you seem to have problems with.
You speak out of both. You speak out of both sides of your mouth. So on the first side of your mouth, you say that she's not appealing to the progressive feminists to bring them over to her side. On the second, hang on, stop, lady, calm down.
She's
Let
not
me finish,
supposed to
lady.
be teaching men.
Lady, relax.
I am
so
relaxed,
on the
but
first
you're
side
making
of
points that are nonsense.
the first side of your mouth, you say that she needs to appeal to progressive feminists, right? Because to bring them over, that would be the goal. And then on the second hand of your mouth, you're like, she needs to talk more about Jewish influence and how black people are bad. Can you explain to me?
No, that's a really minimalistic thing. Those are just examples of topics that
how's that going to bring more people
into this conversation.
Yeah, how's that going to bring more people in?
Just quickly, guys.
How's that going to bring more people in?
Guys, hold on a sec. So as the casual observer here, I think I'm getting a similar thing in the sense that, Kim, you were saying that she wants to appeal to women and women in general, women being by and large left-leaning Democrat, and then that pointing out the Jewish influence and the black racialist argument would in fact help her to bring that Democrat left-leaning side of the female vote to her. Is that
No,
what
I
you're
don't
saying?
think specifically talking about those things will bring more people over. I think that is a separate point that leans into my argument that she doesn't have authenticity because she won't address the whole problem. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean
Do
that
you?
at
So let's
the
start with
other
this.
side
Do
of
you
that
think that
is
she
her.
agrees with you? Like, honestly, do you think that she agrees with you?
I think that she'll address all of the little things around it without addressing the
Yeah. Do
main
you think
part.
she agrees with your conclusions?
I think we agree on a lot of stuff, but
Yeah. Do you
I
think
don't
she
think she
agrees on
agree. I
your
don't think that she
conclusions?
would agree that I find her inauthentic.
That's not
Like,
my
yeah, I
question.
think she
I'm
would
talking about
probably
your
argue her own
conclusions when it comes
authenticity.
to her not talking enough about Jewish influence and black people being bad or whatever. Do you think that she agrees with your conclusions?
Andrew, that is a really pathetic deflection. I really thought you were professional.
Do you think she agrees with your conclusions?
I mean, if she understands what facts and evidence are, she would agree with my conclusions that
Okay,
these are
that's not my
these are
question.
problems.
That's not my question is does she?
I can't pose whether or not Rachel would agree. I'm not Rachel.
So if Rachel comes to different conclusions than you do, how could she be being authentic by not providing the same conclusion that you do? That's a bizarre argument too.
You're saying that because I agree with her, I can't find her approach inauthentic? I don't think that that's
I don't even think he understood what I just said, so I'll try it again. If she comes to different conclusions to what various problems are in society than you do,
but they aren't different conclusions.
Okay, hang on.
Inarguable what
then
the
show
roots
me.
of those problems are.
Well, wait a second. Are you saying then that even if it was, let's just assume everything you're saying is factual, whatever that is, everything you're saying is factual. Does that mean that everybody's going to?
Does that mean everybody? We have to let the question come out, and I'm also not sure that you guys both agree on what the conclusion is anyway.
Yeah, that's my whole point is like you saying this is an inarguable fact has no bearing at all on whether or not it is the case that somebody would agree with you. So you saying this is a fact, like for instance, an example would be, I don't believe that men can be women. Clearly, there's a lot of fucking people who disagree with me. So that's an inarguable. I think that's an inarguable fact, but there's a bunch of people who disagree with me. You understand the distinction? So if it's the case, we have to start with your position. The supposition has to start with the fact that you think Rachel agrees with your conclusions.
You don't have to agree with reality for it to be true.
Right. But if she doesn't agree with your conclusions, how would she be being authentic by not presenting your conclusions?
I didn't say she had to present my conclusions. I said if you're going to do a deep analysis and do so in a sense that you're trying to present all the facts, you should present all the facts. I get I said, that is just an element to me, to my claim that she doesn't have an authentic.
What facts is she not presenting? You still haven't ever actually said that.
What are you? Okay. Again, you've minimized them and you'll deflect from them and you'll say that they're not actual points and it's just like conspiratorial level nonsense. I'm sorry, what?
Just go one fact at a time that you think she's refusing to present in her view of feminism. Go ahead. One.
The roots of cultural Marxism and the influence of those who are primarily pushing the anti-Christian subversion.
Yeah, okay.
That's a huge part of it that she won't acknowledge.
Okay, so hang on.
When we talk about culture,
hang on, let's just start with this. This. So Rachel Wilson is refusing to directly address the origination of cultural Marxism. Is that correct?
Yes, she won't tell the whole story.
So how come
and I
the
think
entirety
that she does that for reasons that you also won't.
So which parts, since she goes into cultural Marxism ad nauseum and the roots of Marxism and the feminists who existed in the Soviet Empire, et cetera, which parts is she omitting specifically?
Again, that's not the purpose of this debate, is to go into her points.
So nothing. You have nothing. Literally nothing.
It's not about having nothing. If you understand and you study this,
is so fucking wild to me.
All right, so
what?
Guys,
so then give me the specifics. You keep saying she's omitting.
Because what you're trying to do
but you won't
is
tell me
classic
what.
diversion.
How is this a diversion?
Because this isn't the point of the debate. This isn't the topic of the debate.
The whole point of your debate is Rachel's leaving out key elements of...
And I've already listed those. I don't need to go into the history of all of those to validate that.
Marxist origins, she's not listing them to your satisfaction or whatever. But when I say...
Which is just one small part.
All right, guys. Hold on a second. Guys, moderator speaking. So the claim here is, in fact, Kim, that she is leaving out certain parts of the history of feminism, the cultural Marxist
Right.
influence on feminism,
Yes,
and
that's
that this
part
is
of it.
why she becomes inauthentic. So
That's one reason, yes.
But can you lay out what exactly she's leaving
Yes.
out?
Can you tell me what she's leaving out?
Again, that's not the purpose of this debate, is to go into the in-depth of every single point that she leaves out. The point is that she leaves certain things out.
What?
The point is that she makes boastful claims of best-selling books in order to perpetuate this idea
She
that
had a
there's some
best-selling
sort of
book. It still has a
okay,
best-selling book.
in occult feminism, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really niche category. I've been in
So?
marketing for over 10 years. That means that the only thing you need to reach a number one book
What category
is
is it
10 to
in?
20 sales. It's 10 to 20 sales
Yeah.
in a matter of a couple days, and sometimes even only a couple of hours, which is why, again, when she was on Joe Rogan, it went from 76 to 2000. There's not a whole lot of competition in the area that she was self-publishing in.
What was
That
the
is
area she was publishing in?
I
Do you
just
even
told
know?
occultism, feminism.
Nope.
It's
She wasn't in
listed
either of
on her
those
Amazon
categories.
sales. These are
Pull
all
up her
categories that
Amazon
she's listed
sales.
in on
Pull up her
Amazon.
Amazon sales.
Oh, you can't directly pull up Amazon sales, actually.
So how do you know
but
how
what
many
you can
books? So you don't actually know how many
Be-
books she sold?
No, I don't know the exact number, but I do know that the categories that she's in are not categories that have high competition. Again,
Do you
this
think
is
a
a
book
very
is
common
successful if
marketing
it's
tactic.
yeah,
And if she was
yeah.
genuine, again, she's using it as a boast to say, look at how
Do
many
you
people's
think
mind
do
I'm
you
changing.
think
That
yeah.
it's not evidence of that.
Do
And
you think
again, that's
tens of
an
thousands
inauthentic claim.
would you consider tens of thousands of book sales a
Since
success?
2001? No.
Okay, so how
Especially for a book that's consistently on sale for $5, and we also know
yeah,
that the
so
way publishers work is
tens
they have
she
people
doesn't have a
go in and
publisher.
inflate the.
She doesn't have a
Okay,
publisher.
yeah, even self-published people do this tactic, Andrew.
Do what? What tactic?
Inflate their own sales. It's really not a difficult thing to do,
So I
especially
just
when
want
you're
to make sure
marketing it at a constant
yeah.
65% discount.
So she's not, in your opinion, her tens of thousands of book sales since she put out the book, which, by the way, what was the date you said that she put the book out in?
2001.
No.
Okay, when was the year?
Yeah. So I think she started writing it. I want to
Okay.
say that she's hang on.
So
I'm sorry.
Amazon's
I'm sorry.
lying.
Hang
That's
on.
fine.
Wait a second. Just want to make sure I got this right. 2001, right? You realize
Yes.
we're in 2026, correct?
2021. I'm sorry. That was, you're right. It was 2021.
Okay, so over 4 years, you don't think tens of thousands of book sales is successful?
No, I think that can be intentionally inflated, and I just explained how.
Okay, got it. So what would you consider a book to be successful at? How many copies do you think you need to sell over 4 years for it to be considered a success?
Okay, again, the book sales are not indication that she has moved the needle, or that people who are buying the book are not people who already
Yeah, but
don't
this is
already agree with
your
her.
criticism is
My
that
criticism
it's
is that
not she wasn't
uses that as
successful as a
evidence of a
writer.
cultural needle shift, and that's not
Yeah.
what it is. And she
Well,
and she
okay.
does so by claiming it reached
Okay.
number one status, when it doesn't
Uh-huh.
take that much to reach number one status in the categories that she. This is all backed up.
Could you duplicate it? Could you do it?
Could I write a book? I
Mhm.
have been. Probably. I mean, I
No,
don't.
no, no.
I'm,
Could you write a book and then get it in the number one category
Yeah.
using
Probably.
duplicitous means?
I mean, I wouldn't do that. I don't feel the need to do that. But yeah, yes.
If your book
That's
sold if your book
yes.
sold tens of thousands of copies, wouldn't you be pretty proud of it?
I would be proud of it, but that doesn't mean that I would use it as a way to pitch myself as somebody who moves the needle.
Well,
I
when
think all the
Rachel,
evidence. I think when you look at when you look at the interaction between her and the people around her, it's all the people who already agree with her, propping her and supporting her, and the people who don't, like, they don't necessarily get one over, and there's no evidence of that. You claim there's all these DMs. Oh, you won me over, or you changed my mind. Sure, okay. I don't.
Yeah.
I would actually be very interested to see, like, who these people are, and if that claim is actually true. I think if you go back in their social media profiles, you'll see that either they didn't talk about it, because you can't talk about it until recently without getting severely shadow banned, without getting ostracized from the conversation, or yeah, there'll be people who have already agreed. And that through my own observations, that's exactly what I've seen over years and years and years and years of seeing this content.
Yeah. So real quick, Jake, can you equalize the mic settings for me?
Apparently, when we try to put Kim down, it mutes her. So, Kim, maybe you can lower yourself a little bit on your end.
I can give it a try, certainly.
Yep.
Is that better?
Say test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
Yeah, it's still super loud in comparison to mine.
Okay. Sorry.
It could just be you're super loud in comparison to me. I don't know. But
That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to this. What evidence would you require to think that Rachel is moving the needle when it comes to the ideas of feminism? What would the evidence be that you hang on? Can I ask the question real quick? I wasn't even done. The words hadn't even left my mouth, and you're already What would the evidence be? The standard of evidence that we should use for whether or not Rachel is moving the needle when it comes to feminism? What do you want to see exactly?
The same thing you look for when you're looking for a botted audience, and that is actual conversation and actual evidence that the needle is moving. It doesn't exist on her platform.
That's not giving me an answer. You said I would just look for evidence that the needle is moving. That's what's in question.
I would look in the way that people engage with her content. And that's exactly what I just said.
So what
and the way that people
ways?
engage with her content is primarily the people that she's trying to reach. She addresses through rage baity type quips. And
prove it.
What do you mean prove it? Go through her entire social media and highlight all of the different parts.
Yeah, you have the positive claim here. The positive claim is Rachel's not moving the cultural needle.
I mean,
you say the reason. Hang on. Stop. You say the way that we can make the determination of if that's true is by how her content's engaged with. And you haven't been all that specific about what we would do for that. Like what exactly, how we would check this, how her content's engaged with. Well, but whatever that is, why don't we just do it right now?
Like, why can't we? Can we do an autopsy of her and just her Twitter alone? An autopsy of her videos? I've done that independently, but I think it would be pretty boring unless you edit that down for a stream, which I'd be happy to do.
Just tell me what. Like what would the metric be for us to determine that?
What would the metric be to determine authenticity of?
No, that she's moving the needle at all.
Again, you can observe that in how the content is engaged with.
Yeah, but what specific things would we be looking for how the content's engaged with to determine that?
Again, the things that I looked for were people who were in agreement versus people who weren't, and the people who again, all the people, and there's dozens of accounts, if not more, that I've looked into over the last, specifically over the last 9 or 10 days, but over time developing this opinion in the first place.
Where? On what platforms are we talking about?
On YouTube, on X.
Okay, so do you count when people make hit piece videos about Rachel and all the people who go there?
No, I think that the hit piece videos are a little bit lazy. I think
hang on. Chill. Let me ask the question. You're not even answering
your question.
I don't even get the words out, and you're already going. Do we count hit piece videos where there's thousands of people who flock to the hit piece videos to talk shit about Rachel, or the various people who write the reviews of her book and make videos on those and talk about how she's wrong, how she's incorrect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when they're critiquing her work? Do we only take videos that show her in a positive light, and so the commenters are showing her in a positive light? Why are we not taking the critical videos as well?
No, what do you mean? I've listened to the critical videos, and I think largely the
Which
critical
ones?
videos. Well, there was Tree of Logic. There was
no. That's all trolling personal shit. I'm talking about people who critique her work.
And that's the large majority of people who have things to say against
most
her.
Most of the people who have to say against her critiquing. They're mostly critiquing her work.
Okay, no, they're not.
Yeah,
that's why.
Do you want to go through? Do you want to go through the giant creators who, especially feminist creators, who bring up Rachel's book and have done huge, long set piece hours reading it, going through it in order to debunk it? Would you like to do that? Because there's tons of them.
Sure. That sounds fine to me. If you have those and you want to send them my way,
sure,
you can do that.
I'll just pull them up now. How come you didn't include any of them?
Include any? I don't understand what your question is.
Well, these are creators who are way bigger than any of the troll creators are.
Again, my point was that most of the criticism that you see, the criticism that circulates, focuses on things that I don't think are relevant. I don't not believe in redemption. I don't not believe in learning from your mistakes. I don't not believe that you can have
Yeah,
a
I mean, but that's
stronger
irrelevant to what the point is. The point is that there's giant feminist accounts which will critique Rachel's work, and they're going through her work. They must be paying attention to it, right?
Not necessarily. No. Again, like I said,
So they're not
the
paying
majority
attention
of the
to it.
criticisms will draw on the fact that they believe
Let's
that
start.
she
Let's
is a
start with this
hypocrite.
one. Let's start with this one. Go to Rachel Oates' channel, "Women Who Hate Women," the book. We'll just start with the first one. Go to Rachel Oates' channel, 61,000 views, huge feminist on YouTube. Right? Almost 400,000 subscribers.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, how is this appealing to people who don't already agree with her? This is just another.
What do you mean?
person
That's an anti-account. They're literally critiquing her work. That's a feminist
but
account.
That's
How would
not
they agree with
moving the
her?
needle. That's people critiquing her work. That's not.
Why would they be?
anyone's mind.
Well, you said the metric that we would note is how people engage with her content to note if she's moving the needle. This would mean people are paying attention to her content who disagree with her.
Publicly doesn't move the needle.
Well, what does? What moves the needle?
What do you mean? Moving the needle means you're convincing people to go from believing one thing to believing another. You're saying that, oh, look, people critique her, so they must be moving. No, that's not how that works.
Well, what? How do we determine whether or not a needle's being moved? Can we look at huge conservative creators who've adopted her talking points? Can we look at the feminists who literally will try to critique her work every chance they get because they're terrified of her? Like, how do we determine she's moving the needle or not?
Again, the way you determine moving the needle isn't by people who disagree with her disagreeing with her loudly.
That's telling me how you don't do it. Tell me we would have a metric to measure this.
Again, that would entail going into how people engage with her content.
Then can you demonstrate how people engage with her content for us?
Well, you just gave the example of people being extremely critical of her analytic work, but that doesn't, like I said, that's not.
And people being very not critical of her analytic work. How? So what are we doing? What are we looking for here?
Again, we're looking for a genuine shift, which doesn't exist when it comes to her audience.
What does that mean? What does that mean? A genuine shift?
That means that you're taking people who generally believe. We're looking for like a walk away type thing. We're looking for actual signs.
What does that mean though? A walk away for who? Like what?
A walk away for feminism. A walk away for.
So you're saying that women are going to abandon feminism?
Occultism.
And that's how you know the needle's been moved?
Yes, that's the goal, isn't it? In order the
Sure.
betterment of society, women need to understand that they've been lied to for nearly a century, and they've been manipulated into doing things that are not only harmful to them socially, but harmful to them mentally. They're taking on dynamics that they're not intended to have. They're taking on roles they're not intended to have, and they are again, it leads to like the Renee Goods and stuff of the world who like think that they can get in the face of cops and not get shot over it. I don't think that, you minus Rachel Wilson from that equation and that changes anything that's happening right now. So I don't, again, there are things that
let me try. Maybe I can try this a different way.
And I think part of that is
who would you say
honesty.
is moving
when you
the
have
culture?
brutal honesty?
Who is moving the culture?
You make people uncomfortable enough to ask the questions, but
okay,
she's not. She's she'll only address it up to a certain point.
Yeah, who is moving the culture? Maybe that's a better question. Who is moving the cultural needle?
Right now, there really aren't very many women who are effectively moving the needle.
Anybody?
Unfortunately,
anybody, not even just women.
I mean, off the top of my head, you have the really insane provocateurs like the Myron Gaines and then the Paul Millers, and then you have people who like Joe Rogan, who's capable of just creating a soundboard.
Yeah, so Myron Gaines, you would consider him to be somebody who's moving the needle.
I think that he gets people to ask more radical questions, yes, and I think the same for Paul Miller.
Okay, Myron Gaines adores Rachel, thinks her work is fantastic, and also thinks that it's pivotal to a fight against feminism.
I don't think he's incredibly smart or capable of saying that.
So he's moving the needle, but he's not very smart.
I said he's provocative enough and willing to say certain things that are having people ask more questions than they would, and asking questions is a big part of it. Rachel's not doing that.
And is Nick Fuentes moving the cultural needle?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Nick Fuentes is moving the cultural needle. You had not nice things to say about him, of course. But
when did I say not? I mean, I don't have to agree with Nick all the time. I think he says some.
Well, you said that he like needed to eat a steak and a bunch of other shit. It was not very nice.
How is that not nice? I said I think he would function better if he had a woman taking care of him and making sure he wasn't just eating fast food. One of his primary things.
Look, it just didn't seem very nice.
Things that he's constantly
it just
saying
didn't
he feels
seem
sick.
very nice. That's all I'm saying.
How is that?
It didn't seem very nice.
There's no reason to claim that it wasn't nice. If people watch the clip, there's nothing of ill or malicious intent in me saying that he would perform better.
Calm down. I just said it didn't seem very nice. But anyway, that aside, back to this. The idea here that I don't understand is like, if you're going to put Rachel up against the kind of like largest personalities in fucking society, which exist.
How did Nick become one of the largest personalities? Because this started around the same time that she started, but there's a reason that he's
no. He was around for years before Rachel ever was online. What do you mean?
Okay, he started. Okay.
Just quickly, guys. There's a lot of interrupting going on from both sides. You can still appeal to the moderator. Let me know if you don't feel like you're getting your question out, or if you don't feel like you're getting your responses out well enough. You can appeal to the moderator. But guys, just try your best to get let the questions get out in their entirety so we can understand it, and then let the responses get out. But there's a bit of interrupting going. It can be helpful to move along the conversation, but you can still appeal to the moderator. Go for it.
Okay, so let's even assume this for a second, that Rachel's not moving the cultural needle. Let's just say she hasn't moved it an inch at all, not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do you think she's trying to?
No, I don't think that. Like I said, that's the crux of my argument, is that that's not her intention.
Okay, so let's go back to that. Okay to pander. What is the intention?
Like I said, the intention is to gain validation and to gain accolades from people who already agree with what she's talking about, or who have already seen the negatives of the effects that she's talking about.
Okay, can you show us any evidence of that?
Yeah, I've demonstrated multiple claims of her.
You haven't demonstrated
multiple points of her inauthenticity.
No, that's not the same claim. Your claim is that
yes,
you believe that Rachel
in her lack
herself,
of authenticity. That's entirely
hang on.
Again,
you're hang on.
This is why you didn't want to land on a topic for the debate.
Calm down.
I'm calm. There's nothing not.
I'm asking specifically about this claim. The claim specifically is that Rachel, it's not her intention to move the needle, right?
Yes, I think that's an inauthentic claim.
Show me the proof.
How am I? It's an objective opinion. Oh. You can't. The proof is in everything. The proof is in all the points that I've already laid out. The proof is in her lack of authenticity in general.
That's also your opinion.
Those are substantiating points.
The things that are also your opinion, they don't agree with me, so therefore they're not authentic.
They don't agree with me, but that's again not my point. I said from the beginning I'm not arguing whether or not I agree with her individual points. I disagree with her method.
What's the argument for her authenticity?
You dodged that this entire time.
Then specifically, what is the authenticity that she doesn't have? That's not good enough for you.
Have you not been here for the last 50 minutes?
Well, anytime I hone in on specifics, you don't give me any.
Because the point is to not go into analytical dives about the very like
about your claims.
No, not about my claims, about the details of those individual points.
Yeah, your claims.
No, it's not about the claims. You want to go into the history of all this stuff. I'm just presenting the facts that she won't talk about. I'm presenting evidence that she doesn't go, that she herself is not authentic in her delivery.
Yeah. Can we agree then that part of the authenticity issue is that she won't make certain claims you want her to make?
It's not that I want her to make. It's that these are the roots of these problems.
Okay.
She'll walk up to the line.
Can we start with so we have to start with that, because what you're in order for you to say she's authentic, you'd have to say that she believes the same thing that you do on whatever these issues are, right?
No, it's not a matter of belief when it comes to indisputable facts.
Yes, it is. It would still be a matter of belief. Yeah. Yes, it is. What do you mean? Are you saying that if I genuinely believe, like, let's say that I'm colorblind or something, and I think the sky is green, and you're like, it's objectively blue. Am I being not authentic if I'm like, no, it's green because I see it that way? Is that not being authentic?
When you do deep analytical dives with the historical roots of stuff, and you kind of play like blind to a certain elements of it in order to not
What
get
element
censored.
of it? Yeah, there we go. Hang on, right? We got it right there.
Yes.
What element of it? What?
I've already gone through all of this.
Yeah, tell me what.
Tell you.
What's the element that she's not getting into? What?
The roots of cultural Marxism,
Which
the
is
roots
what?
of the problems when it comes to voting problems in this society. I've already gone over this.
Guys, just quickly, because it's going around in circles again. So, Kim, Kim, just to steelman the case, Kim, you think that Rachel is not going into certain elements, those elements being the cultural Marxist aspect and the Jewish aspect, right?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay, well, what are the indisputable facts that you said that are not up for debate? What are those indisputable facts?
The roots of these movements and the primary groups that are represented in these movements.
Okay, which is who?
Part of it. Again, part of it.
Who is that?
Largely, like I said, that it's Jewish in a lot of ways. It has to do with the ties to occultism. It has to do with the ties to theosophy. Who were the main proponents of theosophy?
Rachel covers Jewish influence in feminism, theosophical influence in feminism, and occult issues in feminism. So which roots is she missing here?
I've already gone over this. I'm not.
No, you actually haven't. You just duck it every time.
I have multiple times. Every time you've yelled over me to say that's not an answer. That's not an answer.
Nobody's been yelling except you. Nobody's been yelling but you.
Again, I really expected this.
Literally, nobody's been yelling but you. But here, now we're getting into the specifics. Now we're actually getting into specifics.
We have been getting into the specifics.
We really haven't. What you said is
no. My
argument is about an opinion.
Okay, yeah, good. Well, let's get into the specifics.
Do you think I've been talking over you?
We should get into the specifics here, guys. All right, so there's claims being made here, Kim, and the claim here is about the Jewish influence, about the cultural Marxist influence.
No, you do it's have not. It's about the inauthenticity.
Kim, when the moderator's speaking, you don't speak. Kim,
stop. Can't help it. She's just been spurting the whole time.
Stop. When the moderator's speaking, you have to be quiet. So we have to go into the details of the claim now. The claims have been made, but now we're going into circles where you're saying you've already said it. But the details of the claim, we do have to go because you are making the claim. So you can't just avoid going into the details about the claim. So let's get into it.
Then the point of this isn't to discuss cultural Marxism. Like I said, that's just
it's to discuss authenticity.
If it's authenticity, which the reason it's not authentic is because I'm not gonna. It's not listing the history of cultural Marxism. Anybody who knows what we're talking about knows what that is. I don't need to go into a long-winded speech of cultural Marxism. No, it does.
Okay, then show me what's missing. Then what?
Again, what's missing is the lack of authenticity in her assertion that she's trying to reach a different audience than she is. That's not the case. You're trying to divert to have me argue.
Kim's muted. I don't know. You're both muted, actually. Both of you are muted.
So the debate.
It says I was muted.
The debate is going to become pointless if we keep going around in circles like this. So we have to be able to dive into the claims.
You're trying to redirect the point of the debate.
I'm not trying to redirect the point of it.
Okay.
We have to be able to dive into the claim, and you have to be able to get into the specifics. You can't just make a sweeping claim like that and say, "Well, the point of the debate is not to defend."
Well, this I don't actually understand either.
To debate cultural Marxism, you guys. That's nonsense.
No. It's what's Rachel's missing out on. That's the point that
you're saying.
And I've already gone into that, and again, you don't want to talk in circles, but you want me to talk in circles.
How is it circular? You're saying Rachel's not authentic. One of the reasons she's not authentic is because she won't dive into cultural Marxism. I say, okay, what about?
Say she won't dive into cultural Marxism. I said she walks up to a certain line that's considered acceptable, and then she stops there. The same with you.
Okay, so if that's the case, then with that claim, what you should be doing is telling us what that line is she's stopping at, with what, and what it specifically is she unwilling to talk about in order to make the claim that it's not authentic.
Again, I've already done that. I'm not here to.
You actually haven't. You actually haven't done that. You actually have refused over and over again to actually tell us.
No, you just yell over me and say that I'm not answering the question. That doesn't mean
nobody's been yelling.
Again,
except you.
I don't think that you
literally
have
nobody's
a relationship
been yelling
with reality.
except you.
I don't think that you have any sort of. Again, you wanted this debate, to bicker like over whether or not my opinion is valid or not. I think that I've substantiated the lack of authenticity. I've substantiated
How?
the fact. I've already, again, you don't want to talk in circles, but you want me to talk in circles.
Well, I just want an actual answer to the question.
I gave you an answer to the question.
You
You're just
haven't.
pretending I haven't. Yes, I have.
When I reduce it down, when you say it's my opinion, Rachel Wilson refuses to dive into key issues about the origination of feminism because she'll walk up to a line and then she stops, right?
Because feminism isn't the only issue either. Again, you're refocusing on individual things when that's not the point. The point isn't the individual points. The point is
her work's about feminism.
inconsistency.
Her work's about feminism.
Yeah, and what led to that? And she won't have that conversation.
Yeah, okay. Literally, she'll come in here and have that conversation with you right now. What led to that?
I think might be a good idea.
Though, if she wanted to do that, she would have done the debate herself and not sent you in her place.
She was running errands. And by the way, I have a larger platform than she does. What do you mean?
I don't care about the size of the platform. That was never the point.
But I do. I care about the size of the platform. So the thing is,
I know, because you pander to an audience.
So is it?
Of course.
I'm sorry. Are you here? I'll let you hash out the origins of feminism with her. Then you can give her the critiques here.
Again, this wasn't the debate. You guys.
I think this is a good idea because you're saying that she didn't start at a certain time, and Rach can actually come and defend the claims herself at the moment. But we do have to start with the claims right now. So she's avoiding certain things, those certain things being the racial issue, being the Jewish issue, and that she avoids the origins, the cultural Marxist origins of feminism. So would you like to pitch questions or to Rachel, or Rachel, would you like to just take it from what you've heard?
No, I think that you guys are doing this intentionally to be manipulative, and I think that it's very obvious why.
What? Okay, so do you think that I secretly know that feminism came from the Jews and I just won't say it because I don't want to get
that's a really
in trouble?
gross minimization of what I said. I think that, again, you'll address certain problems but not others, and that is one of the problems you won't address.
Okay, my second book that I've been working on for the past few years, which is coming out later this year, is actually about because you're under the false assumption. You said I do the deep analytics. You're right about that. You haven't, clearly, because you don't understand that there's two sides to feminism. It started. Let me just talk for a minute.
It's important to get this out. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it started on both sides of the French Revolution. The way we got right wing and left wing was in the French Revolutionary Court. There was a left side and a right side, and there was a Marxist wing to feminism, which, although there was a lot of Jewish influence and involvement, did not come from Jews. The biggest influencers were people like Alexander Kollontai, who came from an Orthodox family, was an atheist, was not Jewish ethnically, was not Jewish religiously. There was a lot of Jewish influence in the Bolshevik movement, but people like August Bebel and others who were highly, highly influential in feminism, even on the Marxist side, were not Jewish. So are you saying it's an ethnic Jew problem? Because my book starts in ancient pagan times, before what we know as Judaism now, Second Temple Judaism, even existed.
Again, you guys are you like to harp on the one point that I said wasn't gone into enough.
Would you like to pick a different one?
I'm not.
If you don't want to talk
because
about
that's not the point of this debate. That's not the topic of this debate. That's not the point of this debate. Again, your husband wanted to debate me because I had an opinion that he considered unfavorable.
Again. It's not again because you haven't told us yet. So saying again, I don't know if that's a nervous tick you have. By the way, if you want to talk about inauthenticity, you need to take down all of your catfish pictures because you do not look like anything like what all your pictures and videos online look like at all. So let's start there with authenticity.
Again,
no, I'm not going to post certain photos that are not what you look like.
Okay, sure.
But okay, you don't want to talk about the Jew aspect. You want me to J-Spurg more. You don't think I J-Spurg enough. And if I thought feminism came from the Jews and it was a Jewish psyop, I would say
no. I'm saying you'll address occultism, but occultism is largely supported by more ideologies than you'll go into, including Judaism.
Like what?
That's where blood magic comes from.
Yeah, but occultism is actually. Do you know what occultism is? Because it doesn't come from Judaism.
I didn't say
Occultism includes things
Okay.
like Hermeticism, Eastern traditions, Theosophy, where they blend Western and Eastern mysticism.
Okay.
So it would be scholarship is
I'd be happy
important
to
to
have
me.
this discussion when that's
Yeah,
the,
well,
when that's the topic of discussion.
I'll just briefly
And I-
say, I want to be
If you were
taken
going to come into
seriously.
the debate, you again, like
Yeah.
you pretended you didn't even know
All
this
right,
was happening
guys.
until yesterday.
Let's not get into a meta conversation
didn't.
about. Let's not get into a meta conversation about the debate.
Okay, so you just
So the
don't talk to
claim
your
is
husband.
that Rachel. This is the topic of the debate. Rachel is inauthentic. Kim, you think that Rachel is inauthentic because she's pandering to an audience, and there's certain places that she won't go because if she goes there, then she'll maybe lose a bunch of her audience and maybe get banned, maybe get deplatformed, these sorts of things.
Yeah,
And
I
those
think,
places
again,
are
it's
the
not losing the
cultural
audience that
Marxists.
she
Stop
already has.
interrupting when the moderator is speaking. So those are arguments are, for example, the cultural Marxists, the Jewish aspect of feminism. Are there any specific things that you can like elaborate on that Rachel won't go into?
Again, that's not the point of this debate.
Again.
Yes, because
Okay,
I've had to
what's the
repeat
point?
myself ad nauseum, Rachel.
Yeah, but you don't seem to know what an argument is either. So you just asserting
Okay.
things isn't
Yeah,
an argument.
I'm a
you have to be able
catfish.
to
I don't know what an
demonstrate
argument
claims.
is.
You
know,
can't
these are
demonstrate your
also-
claims.
Okay. Yes, I can, and I have. And
Okay.
every time we go back into it again, it's just called circling.
How are you going
want me
to
to-
prove? So what is it about me that you think is inauthentic besides the Jew
I think
thing?
your
You clearly
stated
don't want to talk about the
intention
Jew
is
thing.
inauthentic. That's what this whole debate is about in the first place.
I
And,
know
like,
you're just repeating it. I'm saying so do you think that I really don't believe feminism is a problem, but I'm pretending it is? Do you
no,
think that
I think you pander to a specific audience, and you're not you're intentionally not trying to expand upon that audience. You're going to the audience who you know is going to you're in that comfortable circle, and that's fine. I brought up the comparison to like sportscasters. They only talk about sports because they're only appealing to people who want to talk about sports, and there's
So,
nothing
should I talk
there's
no.
nothing problematic with that, unless you're trying to say, oh, my whole thing is moving the needle. I'm doing this for the betterment of society. No, you're not, because you're not actually trying to reach society. You're trying to reach a niche group of people who are keeping you guys comfortable, and that's fine, but that's just not the truth.
Okay. So if you think that I won't go into uncomfortable territory, like
I think
I'm in my
to a lack
safe-
of
Okay,
authenticity.
let me
Yes.
talk, or are you just gonna always prattle over me? You have a problem doing this with Jake, with Andrew, and now with me, where you can't control yourself and wait for the other person to respond, and then you respond. You just
That's
prattle
exactly what
over.
Andrew did this whole debate.
I just let you talk until you were finished, and I didn't get 4 words out before you already started talking. So it's a very typical woman problem that you're doing. You're not speaking to
Okay.
listen and understand. You're
I think
just
the
waiting
typical
to
woman
reply.
thing here is hiding off in the background and pretending that you have nothing to do with this, and then suddenly hopping in like, oh, well, I'll just take over from here.
I was literally gone and just got back to the house. I was out running errands, just got back to the house. You want to pretend like
So
I knew
isn't
this
your
debate
debate.
was
If
happening?
you want to
I
have the
didn't-
conversation about it, that's
Well,
fine.
you're
But, like,
addressing
you're
me.
not staying on
All
point
right,
of the
meta
debate.
conversations. No meta conversations. Let's get into the
I'm
actual.
gonna have to mute her
debate.
because she'll just
Yeah.
continue to talk over. Clearly,
I will
we need
if
moderation.
it keeps happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been happening the whole time. I was listening in the car on the way home, and then she just talks over everyone. So
Yeah, it's a one-sided.
how am I? In order to prove I'm inauthentic, you'd have to prove that I do not believe in what I say I believe in, or that I'm not trying to do what I'm trying to do. If I wasn't trying to reach people who didn't already agree with me, why would I be doing shows like the Joe Rogan podcast? Why would I be going and debating people at universities who are leftists if I don't think their audience is going to also hear those things and hear those discussions? Of course, that's how you reach people. The way that you reach people who don't already agree with you is to tackle the ideologies that those people hold and dismantle them. Because once you break down that worldview, then they have to come look at what you're saying and vet what you're saying. That's literally how we do that.
Okay, again, your audience, you would know your audience is gonna, that's how debates work. That's how these blood sports things go. Nobody goes into these believing that you're actually authentically going to change the other person's mind. That doesn't happen.
No, I'm not trying to change. So I'm debating Brian Shapiro on Tuesday. I'm not
know.
going to change Brian Shapiro's mind, but I very well may change some of his audience's mind, the university students who are going to be there and watching the debate. may have never heard my arguments before, I think they're very compelling. And I get, like Andrew said, and I can read you some, I've got some pulled up here. I get messages every day from people saying, I used to have this boss babe mentality, this like modern feminist mentality, and I never questioned it. It was just, it seemed to be what everybody did and what everybody thought. That's how I was operating. I saw your stuff, and at first I thought you were crazy. And I read your book and I went, holy shit, I didn't know any of this information. If I had known this, I would have thought differently all along. But now that I do, I have changed my mind. I get messages from people all the time. One of the women on the Whatever podcast that I was just on messaged me after to say that she completely changed her position. I gave her my book after the podcast. It was the girl that I said looked like Pocahontas. I said, I can tell that you're open to at least changing your mind. So here's my book. I want you to read it. And she was like, wow, really? Okay, I'll read it. She messaged me a week later and said, I didn't know any of this. This is crazy. You're making me look at things in a totally different way. And you've changed my mind. I get that feedback all the time. And by the way, if you can do better at this, why aren't you doing it?
Right now I'm raising children, but what my goal is to help provide voices to people who are dangerous to platform.
Okay, that's
because
good.
they actually move the needle.
Well, so basically we're not edgelordy enough for you. We don't meet your edgelordy.
You're edgelordy in a way that only appeals to a certain audience, which has been what I've maintained this entire time.
Again, if I wanted to say something very unpopular, which by the way I do all the time, I don't think I'm in the safe zone at all. I'm not. By the way, my YouTube is demonetized. I can't get monetization on YouTube on my channel because I do talk about this stuff in a very frank way. I've had Edward Dutton on, who is very.
Well, that's a lot of people.
I've had Edward Dutton on my program and interviewed him on my YouTube channel and had discussions with him, and he's deplatformed. I've talked to lots of deplatformed people, by the way, and agree with a lot of them, but okay. I'm not saying anything. I'm not holding anything back. Like this, aside from the Jew thing, what do you think I'm leaving out? Because you keep saying that's only one piece. That's only one piece.
I brought up.
What else is there?
I brought up the 19th Amendment. I thought you were listening. When you talk about the disadvantages to women voting and people push you to expand upon that, because there are plenty of other demographics who, again, if you repeal the 19th Amendment, especially if you're just defaulting to land ownership, there's plenty of people who won't be included in that in large swaths because of that fall into other categories other than women, and that includes Black people. And when you were presented with that, oh, how abhorrent! No, they make up over 90% of the voting base, and largely are the ones who can't are criminal. So again, like you'll identify that it's a problem that people who are undereducated won't vote in their best interest, and then you'll pearl clutch when someone dares suggest that it's more than just women who are the problem in this scenario.
So you got all of that wrong. First of all, my opposition to the 19th, I'm going to correct all the garbage you got wrong there. And I don't know if this is an IQ problem or if this is I hate Rachel with a burning, seething hatred, so I can't comprehend things that she says problem, but I'll fix it. So my argument to Driana on Whatever was not that women shouldn't vote just because they tend to vote left, because most married women actually vote Republican. Okay. So it's not only that reason, but I did bring that up only to prove that, hey, the reason they wanted women to have the vote was because they wanted to pass this progressive agenda, and you couldn't do it. Even if you just let all Black men vote, you couldn't do it. Even if and Black people didn't even vote mostly Democrat back then. But even if you took that, like, my argument was never, anyone who votes Democrat should not be allowed to vote. That doesn't even make sense. That wasn't my argument. My argument for women not voting is also not based on land ownership. I never suggested, we should go back to land ownership. That probably wouldn't work now because corporations own a lot of land and there's not a lot of individual land ownership like there was at the founding anyway. So I was just bringing that up as a rhetorical point to say the reason that there were progressive Democrats who pushed for the 19th is because they knew women would become eventually half of the electorate. And that's a huge advantage. Now, yes, Democrats are not 90% of the base. I think that what you meant to say was that 90% of blacks vote Democrat. That's a different claim than saying they're 90% of Democrats' base. So again, not sure if you're just not good at this or if you're a little bit dumb, but even if 90% of blacks vote Democrat, even if you took away the black vote tomorrow, they're only like 12% of the population and they only vote in very small numbers. It wouldn't do a whole lot. So even if you believe that that was a problem, it would be a stupid argument and it would be a stupid hill to die on because it wouldn't really help you much in the long run anyway. But that aside, I wasn't saying women can't vote because they vote Democrat. I would love if, married Republican voting women still voted, but there's lots of ways to limit suffrage. And I never say land ownership. So I wasn't clutching my pearls. I'm honestly, I honestly just don't think that black people are some kind of subhuman category. I'm not an actual racist. I'm not, look, maybe it's cool in your world to be actually racist. I'm not actually racist. I don't actually hate black
actual
people.
Racism is holding up factual evidence to say that this is a detriment to society, that people vote.
What is?
What do you mean,
What's black people are a detriment to society?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Rachel. Just
what
black people are a detriment to society.
I don't know what you're saying.
It doesn't matter what I do say because, again, your moderator here will just mute me when you're lying.
Okay,
when
guys,
you're blatantly lying and
so
misrepresenting my point.
it's not a matter of being muted for any sort of reason because of biased moderating. It's literally just because I want you guys to have the floor one at a time. And Kim, you keep interrupting every time that they start speaking. And you were talking the whole time you were muted as well. So you just have to be able to get your point, Rachel's point, your point, Rachel's point. So would you like to have the floor to refute all the things that Rachel just said, to give arguments against it?
The refuting is that you took the points, you misrepresented them. And again, Andrew was allowed to talk over me, to correct me, whatever the hell.
You guys were talking over each other. You were talking over each other. Yes. Okay,
so she's allowed to throw around epithets, and that doesn't get her muted. But me trying to actively say, no, that's not what I said, that gets muted.
No. You're just speaking the whole time that she's speaking, so it's hard to actually understand. Okay. But now you've got the floor, so go for it.
Where do you want me to start? Because again, like you rattled off 4 or 5 different things here. So Rachel, where do you want me to start? Which again, we've already diverted so far away from the debate that this was obviously.
Say again one more time.
So you want Rachel?
I've had to repeat myself.
So Rachel, what do you want her to address? Go for it.
So she said, I walk up to, wow, she just gave you the finger, Jake.
I've had that from a few ladies in my time.
She said, I walk up to the line, but I won't say, basically she's saying you won't
obviously biased. Everyone warned me about this beforehand, and I gave you the benefit of the doubt, and I shouldn't have.
Okay, say whatever you want. I'll just let you say whatever you want.
Is there something, because I don't want it to go out of hand where we're just like throwing shit at the wall here. Rach, is there a specific point you want her to address, and then we can let Kim address it?
Yeah, just whatever it is she thinks I'm not saying, since she doesn't want to talk about the Jewish question. She said, I don't Jewsburg enough, even though I don't believe that feminism has its roots in Judaism or Jewishness or Jewish influence. They hopped on the bandwagon later like they always do. There is a Jewish spirit that likes revolution. And so when they saw feminism, they were like, yeah, let's get on that. And I've talked about this a million times. Anybody who actually follows me would know that. But they're not the root and they're not the cause. And it's not just the Jews. Okay. So what besides that am I not talking about that she thinks I would be talking about if I was authentic?
All right. Go for it, Kim.
That's not what I said. So I'm not gonna make an argument against something that I didn't initially make the point of. That's I'm not upset with you because you won't talk about just the Jews. I'm saying when you talk about the roots of cultural Marxism, when you talk about the influences that supported occult magic, when you talk about blood magic, when you talk about the staple personalities in these movements, you don't talk about the influence that definitely exists in a large majority from Jewish subversion. That's just the fact. You won't bring it up.
I do, and I have. My book
that's why you brought it up one time in your book?
Multiple times. I brought up Kabbalah and how Kabbalah is where the witch hat comes from. The pointy witch hat comes from Kabbalah. I talked about Lilith wait a minute. I'm giving you examples of multiple times in the book.
You didn't
Lilith,
identify that it.
okay, she's not going to let me talk.
Just go for it, and then she can
Just
come
can't.
back on after. Yep, I know.
So Lilith being a Jewish legend, that is a Jewish roots thing, the spirit of Lilith, and how Lilith is this big poster child for feminists. They love Lilith because she's a vengeful spirit against men, and she loves abortion and tries to kill babies, so they love Lilith. I talked about Gloria Steinem and how her Jewish grandparents were theosophists and feminists, and how she was involved in that side of things. And like I just told you, I'm writing a whole nother book now, because the first book goes over the Western part of feminism, which was mostly a capitalist version of feminism that the Marxist version didn't agree with. So first wave and most of second wave was more capitalist and less Marxist in the West. Then the Marxism in the East, in the Eastern Bloc in Russia and other places, came and kind of merged with it and created this hybrid version that has dominated the university system since 1970. That's what the second book is about. I've already given multiple interviews talking about Kollontai, talking about the Bolsheviks, talking about Marxist feminism and where that comes from. So again, if you think that you know the history of feminism better than I do, or you can explain it better, or you can use it in a more positive way to move the needle, I invite you to do that. I still don't understand how I'm inauthentic here.
Again,
all right, go for it, Kim.
What you're doing is you're taking the points that I've said about your inauthenticity and you're trying to divert it into other conversations. You've already gone far away from the main point of the topic. And
what's the main point then? What am I not addressing?
I already said that. The point is not to
Nobody
go into
understands.
the analytics
the chat
of it.
doesn't understand. I don't understand. Andrew didn't understand.
Sure.
So if you're just being
again,
super
we're not even
clear
having
and
a
nobody
debate.
understands
This isn't even a debate at this point. Andrew's already abandoned the ship. So
you didn't have anything. You just insist that am I insincere?
Yes, I think that when you say that you're trying to move the needle, that is an insincere claim.
Why would you think that? You think I don't want women to choose patriarchy?
I think that you're doing it ineffectively, and I think that you know that. And I think that know that you're only talking to people who agree with you.
No,
that was my whole point. We're not
talking
about. We're not going on to. Okay. Yeah, I'm an interrupter.
I mean, everyone's interrupting. Both are interrupting at this stage. But I think the fundamental thing here is that you guys perhaps believe. Kim, that you believe that Rachel would agree with your conclusion, but it seems as though Rachel, from what you just described, you genuinely don't believe her conclusions, because obviously, Kim, you haven't been able to really elucidate it as well in terms of the details about what you think Rachel's actually omitted from her book.
I'm sorry, I wanted to stick to the topic of the debate. Like I said, the reason that Andrew didn't want to lay down the actual formal topic is so that you guys can go off and do all of these different.
I'm here to listen to whatever it is you think.
Again, you're not even the one
wrong,
that asked for the debate.
However, I'm being insincere. Okay. However, it is that I'm inauthentic. So do you think I'm secretly a feminist and I'm a plant?
No, because like I said, the point isn't that what you say is wrong. The point is that you don't actually try to convince people outside of the circle of the people that already agree with you. That again, we're talking in circles because.
But I do try. I talk to leftists. I debate leftists. I talk to leftists. What do you mean? What do you mean it's not authentic? You think I don't want to debate them, or you think I don't debate them? I don't understand your claim. I genuinely don't understand it. Debate changes people's minds all the time. It changes. Okay. Go to Andrew's most recent debate that he had with Konstantin Kaizen on trigonometry. There's thousands of comments of people being like, wow, Andrew explained things in a way that I've never seen Konstantin on his back foot like that. I've never questioned these things. I've never questioned the presuppositions of liberalism, and Andrew made me question them. Crucible chat is filled with 8,000 people right now who are here because they used to think something else and Andrew convinced them otherwise. It's the same thing for me. And you can just say you don't believe it, I guess, but why are we so popular? Why does everybody want to talk to us? Why does everybody want to debate us if we're not influential, if we're not moving the needle?
Okay. Again, I didn't ask for this debate.
For you to say I don't want to is look, I can't prove intentions and neither can you. All I can do.
That's why I thought this debate was silly in the first place. But
Well, I don't know
I
why
was here
you
to
took it.
substantiate.
I didn't know
I
anything
was here to
about it.
substantiate my claims that your intentions are not authentic by proving individual points that you're not thoroughly authentic on. And I have already
thoroughly
done that.
authentic on all of those points. I mean every word I say. I'm completely and totally
Meaning what you say and addressing people who it's actually going to change is not the same thing.
Okay, tell me how to do it correctly or better. How would I be doing it if I was doing it authentically?
Do you not understand how to talk to women and to men who need to have their minds changed? Because the way to do that is
I'm
not
very
by your
good at
method.
that.
Okay,
I think I'm very good
at. This just comes down to I don't agree.
That's just your
This
opinion.
comes down to
okay.
Yes,
well,
I understand. This is an opinion-based debate, Rachel.
Well, I'll tell you
Congratulations, you finally
I'll tell
come
you
to
my
it.
opinion. If it's my turn to talk now, I'd like to give her my opinion. And my opinion is, you don't do fucking shit. You're not moving any needles. You haven't done anything I've done. You're nowhere near as good at this as I am. And you'll never have half the influence that I've had in a very short period of time. I've been doing this for a few years as a part-time side gig. And yeah, I've moved the needle. You also made a bunch of incorrect claims about my book. I don't inflate sales. I peaked at number 32 in all of books on Amazon, not just the 3 categories that the different books are listed in. Number 32 in all of Amazon books, which is almost unheard of for a self-published book. And it's still bestseller in all 3 categories. It's still selling over 400 copies a day. It's doing really, really well. And yes, I'm very happy about that, because my goal with this is not to reach women like you who are bitches who don't like me because I'm doing better than you.
Personal if you want.
You can mute her. Yeah, we can get personal. You're just a bitch and you don't like me because I'm better at this than you and I'm getting the attention that you want and that you think you deserve.
This was
and
the sneaky...
my goal with doing this is not to convince bitches like you. My goal with doing this is to correct the historical record. Yes, my goal...
You sound a bit emotional there, Rachel.
I'm pretty emotional right now. Before I leave this planet, I want women's studies and gender studies programs to have to correct their historical textbooks, because I can prove, and so have other professors, by the way, who are men, that they have left out and written out and changed the history over time. And I want that corrected. I want the historical record corrected to reflect what was actually written about suffrage when it happened.
We'll give you your time in a sec.
I do that by writing books, showing the source material. And you said, oh, it's too analytical, it's not going to reach women. I'm sorry to tell you, but women buy most of my books, not men. I get way more letters from women saying, I had to read this book and I can't put it down. But what I do is I go through and I show the source material. I show what the textbooks do now and what they did 100 years ago. There's another professor named Joseph C. Miller who does this. And he's a liberal. He's not even like a conservative. He's a liberal. And he went back and he showed, look, what they said in 1920 is totally different than what they started saying by 1970. And they literally gatekeep the history and they changed it. And I think that's important. History is highly influential. You don't know how to fix where you are or how you got there without having the correct history. So, and just like a lot of other people
shots
do
fired. Kim, you have the floor now. Your time to respond to the things that she said and about the authenticity claims.
Again, devolving into name calling and mudslinging is your method, and that's why you don't win people over. This was a debate with your husband, which he's already backed out of for whatever reason. And this is all you guys being, you're in on the same team. This was the method that you wanted to use all along. There's a reason why there was a million reasons to reschedule, and you didn't know and he didn't know, and then you're going to hop in and again, not address the points of why I say you're lacking authenticity, which isn't the fact that I disagree with the analytical background. It's that you are not a person who does what is necessary to reach the people that you claim to want to reach the most.
You can't tell me what that is.
What do you mean I can't tell you what that is?
If you know I'm doing it wrong, you should be able to tell me. You should be able to say, Rachel, if you wanted to reach women, you'd be doing this instead. All you're doing is saying the way you're doing it is wrong, but I don't know how it should be done. I can't tell you how to do it properly.
That people don't that people are not going to go into the deepest affected by this are not going to go into an analytical deep dive. that is improbable according to your own admissions.
Not true. There's a ton of feminists
And then
reading
you
my
say-
book.
Okay, I'll pull up all the clips of you saying it because you have multiple
What?
times.
No,
then
I say
you-
everybody. No. I know what you're talking about now. She's talking about when I always say nobody goes back and reads the boring writing of feminists from the 1800s. And that's
No.
true. The only people who do that are people who are already in gender studies programs. They're already bought into feminism. Maybe they do. But the general population is busy. They're trying to pay their bills. They're trying to raise their kids. And they're not going to go, let me go read all of Mary Wollstonecraft and take weeks or months to do that. They're not going to go back and find out who Margaret Fuller was and read what she was writing in 1840. I'm the nerd who does the homework for people and shows them, here's where you can find all the original source material. Here's what it says. Here's what they did to change it or hide it or why they left it out.
No, Rachel, what you said is that women are not interested in doing the analytical work, and what you present
I
is
didn't say
analytical
that.
work.
Where did I
Yes,
say
you
that?
did. You said
When?
it on Joe Rogan.
No, I didn't.
Rachel,
I
you
never
did.
said analytical work. No, I didn't. Bring me the
You
clip.
said they don't want to take the time to do the deep dives.
No, what I said is that no one
okay.
wants to read the boring writing of feminists. And I make a joke. It's something I say on every podcast. I make this joke that the reason I deserve the book royalties is because I had to sit there and read this god-awful, boring feminist writing for 2.5 years in preparation for writing this book. It's a rhetorical joke. And plenty of women love to do analytical history. In fact, there's a lot of female historians. We have like a larger amount of female historians than we do female philosophers or engineers or anything like that. So it's not that women don't want to do it. It's that people generally find ancient historical feminist writing to be pretty boring and dry because it is. So I read it for them so that I can tell you what they were saying at the time. Now, again, if you think I'm doing this ineffectively and first of all, your assertion that debates don't change minds is fucking blatantly wrong. There were a series of debates with atheists in the 2000s that made atheism extremely popular. Then there were a second series of debates in the last 10 years that beat all the atheists. And now atheism is on the decline, and all of the popular Sam Harris's, the Four Horsemen of the Atheist Apocalypse, are nowhere to be found. They're not popular anymore because they got their asses handed to them by people like Jordan Peterson and a lot of Christian apologists who made them look stupid. And what you do in the culture to move the needle is you take the opposing worldview, in my case, feminism, you destroy it publicly enough times that it can't be ignored that this is a stupid worldview that collapses on its face the minute that it's challenged by someone who knows what they're doing. That's what I do. What the fuck are you doing other than sitting there with your
claim
smug,
isn't that
fat
I do
face?
more either. Excuse
Well,
me that
maybe
I
you
stuff
should
my
try
fat
doing
face.
something. I said,
You
with
really
your
want to go
smug,
into that?
smug fat face. I said, with your smug.
My smug
Listen,
fat.
I
Yeah,
thought
All right,
even
all
my
right.
pregnant
Let's
women said
guys.
the whole time,
It's
"Okay,
getting into a
know
cat
that."
fight, guys.
too.
It's don't make me mute everybody. It's getting into a
lose
cat
weight
fight.
too,
There are
girl.
being
That's
some
all she
shots
said.
fired. There are being some shots fired. Kim, you deserve to speak after that. All right, Row. All right, if you want to scratch the face, you can. All right, we're all here for
No,
it.
because I'm here to debate her husband, not get into a cat fight with
I
some
can
dumb
bring
bitch
Andrew back
online. Like that's
Well,
not.
you know,
not why I'm
if you
here.
want to call me fat or ugly, I think that's fair, but I'm not dumb, sweet cakes. I'm a lot smarter than you are.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, you couldn't beat me in a debate if your life depended on it. You couldn't write a
This
book like
isn't a
mine
debate
if your
with
life
me and you.
depended
If
on
you
it.
wanted to pick a
Do
debate,
you want me to
and
get
pick
Andrew? Do you want me to get Andrew? Do you like him better?
No,
He's a
I
lot
don't
more
really
likable.
care. Honestly,
People think that he's mean, but
we've
it's
already
really
gone
me.
over our time anyway, and I really don't think. Again, this wasn't. The reason
All
that
right.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so look, guys, I mean, we've tried to give as much leeway as possible in the
Milky
debate
Man's
for,
coming back.
for everybody
It's
to
fine.
just do their own thing and for interruptions to be allowed to a certain extent and for the questioning period to happen. And we didn't really get too far, I feel. We're sort of still going in circles. So
Yeah.
the cross-examination period didn't really sort of bring out any details that we can actually, nothing tangible that we can actually go with besides like basically assertions. So there's not really much else to talk about, I don't think.
This was an opinion-based debate in the first place. Like, I don't. again, no one goes into a blood sports which she was talking about specifically. She's saying debates don't move she said I said debates don't move the needle. It's not that debates themselves don't move the needle. The method of blood sports, the reason why it's on its way out and people care less about blood sports is because it just turns into what she tried to do, which is, oh well, you're fat and you're dumb. All right, you're just being a typical woman right now, and you're trying to say that that's not what you are.
It's more popular than ever. Blood sports debates. I don't know what you're talking about.
Blood sports debates were more popular.
The demand
like,
for it is
2-3
through the roof.
years ago. Okay.
Is this a blood sports debate? I don't know.
Actually,
no. I'm saying
no.
That's what largely what her debate tactic is.
They're in demand right now more than they ever have been. I think even including in the Warski days, are in demand even more.
Debate is not blood sport.
Well, what do you consider a blood sport debate to be?
Well, blood sports don't have rules the same way debates do, and that's why Rachel loves blood sports, because she gets to go off and talk about, oh, well, you're fat and you're stupid and I'm gonna mock your voice, and she does your little tropes, and it's cute and it gets clicks. But again,
I haven't done any of that. So
I said she just did.
Yeah, she thinks to be fair, you're utilizing pointed criticisms and calling her authentic. That's already insulting from the gate.
I'm not calling her fat. I'm not calling her ugly.
You're calling her something. You're calling her something
stupid.
worse, which is disingenuous. That's even worse.
Okay, and I brought my points to prove why I believe she's disingenuous, which is, again, is just an opinion.
Well, you just said it reduces to opinion. But do you agree with me that
that's what this whole thing was based
I know.
I
get it. Hang on. But do you agree with me that some opinions are just fucking stupid and that they can be disproven? That opinions themselves can be disproven?
Sure, but you haven't disproven my opinion. You're saying, trust me, bro, she has all these things that mean that she's actually moving the needle. No, and I'm saying that's not a moving of the needle. I'm saying that that's evidence that people who are allowed to agree with her, the people who are already in the same camp as her, are circling around her and trying to prop her. That's fine. Again, totally fine, not a problem. But when you're arguing that the purpose is to move the cultural needle and you're not doing that, that's inauthentic.
Yeah, I know, but you never demonstrated she's not.
Okay.
All right, well, guys, I think there's really not much else.
Never really much
else to do here. There was basically just everyone's just talking over each other and saying
I'm the only one that got
everyone's talking over each other at this stage, and there's not really much substance to this debate anymore. We're going to read a few super chats here. Few new members coming through, and then Nathan said, "Wait, Rachel's book was dense and too hard to understand. I must be a genius."
Well, you just already agree with her. Come on.
Jason Castle said, man, Ann Coulter must be disappointed. Anything to say about that, Kim?
She's not. She doesn't have to be either.
Sean said, Kim,
I bet Coulter would love. I bet Ann Coulter would love Rachel. I just got a feeling.
No, I know for a fact that she would say exactly what I said, which is that the trope of I'm a woman and I'm special because I believe things that other women don't believe. It's the same thing, like I said in my post, as the gays against groomers who are like, well, I may be, be gay, but I believe that it's wrong to touch children. You don't get brownie points for, celebrating something that's totally normal because you happen to fall into that demographic.
So
that's what I said was
I just want to make sure
lazy.
The number one critique, I went back and looked actually before the debate because I was curious, but the number one critique of Ann Coulter for the last 15 years is that she's been tokenized.
Okay, and there's no validity to that, and we're not here to argue about Ann.
I can make the exact same arguments to you. I just don't believe it. I think she is. I think she just wants. I think that your aunt just wants to have. I think that your aunt just wants to have people who already agree with her harder.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
That's fine. Substantiate that by proving that with her.
Substantiate it.
I did multiple times.
When she talks about feminism, for instance, she calls them ugly, man-hating lesbians. The same type of rhetoric that Rachel uses, which is crazy. Why would she use such inflammatory? How is that winning over to her side? How is
that's not what her claim is. She doesn't brand herself as Ann for patriarchy. That's what Rachel does.
She's anti-feminist though.
Okay, but that's not her brand. She talks about it as one of the topics, but that's part of her Rachel's brand.
It is part of her brand. Yes.
Okay.
And part of Sean Brewer's brand is Sean Brewer's opinion is, Kim, you're the ultimate squirrel brain. Just calm down. You solve nothing. As a clear DEI hire, let the Wilsons cook. What would you say back to Sean Brewer's, Kim?
I'm a DEI hire. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Actually, Religious says, as an indie author myself, the claim that it's easy to become a bestseller in a category is ludicrous. It takes hard work to even get your book noticed, let alone have it become a bestseller. You figured it out marketing yourself. Now, I will say to that, there are books out there that do get fake pushed to the top. Like there are agencies out there that you can actually pay to buy your book en masse and push it to the top. But Rachel's is all self-publishing though, so I'm not really sure that's the case. But
it's also it's extremely.
You can still hire those companies to buy your.
It's extraordinarily difficult for a self-published author to get best-selling in all categories in the top 50. For Amazon, that's insane. That's very rare to ever see. And beginning in top in a category is most authors' dreams. Most of them will never achieve that. It's like you just minimize it. So just that it's meaningless because it's just people who already agree with her. She's not moving the needle. It's like, what does it take to move the fucking needle? What does it take?
There don't prove that you're selling it to people who are genuinely getting their minds changed. That's the point I made.
Well, why are women buying it? Because it's fun.
I don't know that women are buying it. I don't know.
It's mostly women buying it. Rachel just told you that.
Can you prove that?
I think yeah. Amazon does keep actually track of that. Yeah.
And was it in the bestsellers before the Crucible started to really blow up? Was it in the bestsellers then?
No.
Yeah.
No. Well,
and like I said,
it was still top. It was still top in its category in some.
I wouldn't be surprised
if
in the Debate Academy one of the required readings is Rachel's book. I would not be surprised.
Well, that's incorrect. Okay. Not one time.
But it would make sense that as
not one time is do I say that there's
required.
There's required reading now in the feminist debate course. I use that as a resource for sure. But we're talking about that's recent. That came out only a few months ago.
Okay.
So that came out after Rogan, in fact, I believe.
Gee, I wonder. Yeah, the timing of that's exactly that's exactly the point that I'm making. But okay.
How that would reinforce my point, not yours.
How does that reinforce your point? It just means that now that Joe Rogan's audience isn't people who disagree with Rachel. That's just that, like, to make that claim is asinine.
Yeah, I mean, tons of it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Northumberland probably has something to say about that, saying he works in a call center. Sometimes my analysts will post something like the printer isn't working. Just saying the printer isn't working doesn't actually tell me what's wrong with the printer. Kim's doing the same thing. So,
okay. But that whenever I went into all the different claims that I had that I believe speak to an inauthentic personality. And instead of just addressing the fact that these are claims of inauthenticity, these are consistent proof of inauthenticity, you want to go into deeper analytical dives, which again wasn't the point of the debate. It wasn't the point of any of this. And then you wanted to tag Rachel in because again, you guys, it's manipulative. It's very clearly manipulative. There's a reason I was muted more than anybody else, and it has nothing to do with me being more interruptive because everybody was doing that. And then of course Rachel comes on and she starts throwing her mean girl comments because that's what she has.
Kim, can I just say, multiple times throughout the debate, I tried my hardest to steelman your case for you and get you to go into some details, just so we have something to hold on to that we can actually go and debate. And I wasn't like being unfair. I was giving as much leeway as possible with the interruptions and with everything going on.
What you were doing was
I was trying to roll out the red carpet for you to give us something to actually debate about. So.
No, what you were doing is like, you're just talking about the Jews. Oh, you're just talking about the blacks.
No. I said to you, what are you talking about? I was asking you. I was like, so here's your point of view. If this is what you mean, what are the details? What exactly is she not talking about here? I tried to do that for you many times. I tried to give you a bunch of alley-oops throughout this debate, but
when you're talking about if I say Kim is disingenuous, I don't believe that she's genuine in her views, or I think that she's being disingenuous or something like this, let's say. The way that I would go about trying to demonstrate that, right? Which, by the way, I haven't said because, like, I don't know. It would be impossible for me to read intent, right? But if I was going to try to demonstrate that, then what I would say is, like, when it came to this view, she's disingenuous because, and then you make a point, you say, well, she won't dive in to enough of this X thing. And it's like, okay, that's a fair critique. But then if that critique is rebutted, where it's like, okay, She does, though. Can you give us the specifics of what it is that you're speaking about that you would want her to actually do to not meet that disingenuous category? You actually won't. And so that's where the idea for the critique comes in, is like, you keep saying, no, I do. And it's like, no, when we reduce it, you actually won't. You actually won't do that. And that's what's
when you
bothersome.
misdirect and try to misrepresent my point, I won't argue with something that a point that I'm not trying to make.
That's not a
which is what-
misrepresentation, though.
Okay.
That's just me trying to get to the heart of what it is the actual criticism is. How's that a misrepresentation? That's the representation, right?
Otherwise, everybody just has to accept the supposition, and then we can't actually.
Yeah, there's just a supposition
anything.
with no meat.
Yeah,
I don't.
Okay. Again, this isn't a debate where you can at the end say one is factually accurate and the other. They're both based in opinion. And again, when I bring up the reasons that I have to support the opinion, the reaction is talking over. The reaction is epithets. The reaction is, well, let me just send her in here. Okay.
Well, if your
none of those
criticisms-
things actually debated my point. None of those.
Yeah,
things
hang on.
actually-
She did debate each one of your criticisms, actually, and refuted it, to at least from my perspective. She seemed like she refuted
misrepresented and diverted.
each one of your criticisms. Well, you can't say it's a misrepresentation that
It is.
you refuse to give specifics, and that when you do, they
Because
get
that's not what
refuted.
the point of this debate is. The
Because
point isn't to
it
go.
is.
I said from the
It is,
beginning
though.
that. Okay. Go ahead, Andrew.
Like, how can I say you're disingenuous if I won't give any specifics about the thing you're disingenuous about? That's just wild to me.
Because that's not what happened.
Revan Kentakana says her claim is that Rachel isn't authentic because she won't bash Jewish people more. This lady isn't just an
That's the
anti-Semite.
lazy
Is that
deflection
true?
that you guys are coming up with. No, that's part of it. That is a single element. And when you're talking about, like I said, if you're going to present a full analytical deep dive, you should present the full analytical deep dive. And that's not what happened.
Yeah, but you refuse to tell us which aspects of the full analytical deep dive, when she drives into the specifics that she's supposedly missing, you won't give her any.
Okay. We can pretend that happened, but we both know
It
that's
did
not.
happen. It still happened. Tell you what, give me one specific
we're-
then that she won't dive into. What?
I'm not going to talk in circles.
Because it's not one. You don't have a single one.
Yep, I don't have a single one. We haven't been talking for
If you
over
can
an
name,
hour.
if you can name a single one
Okay.
of these specifics that she's refusing to address, I actually want to hear it. What?
Okay. No, you don't, because you're just going to talk over it and you're just going to say that I'm not.
I will
saying
actually
what I'm saying.
I'll mute Andrew if you
Mute
can go
me.
into this
No, you
the
won't. Okay.
specifics.
Yeah, mute me, right?
Again, this
He's
has
muted.
already gone over for more than an hour than we planned to, and I think that the reason behind that is obvious.
I don't know what you're talking about, the reason behind it. I mean, if you want to
I
go into the
think that you
specifics,
let
Andrew's
them-
muted
okay.
right now. He's muted right now. So, like, go. And as the moderator, I want a debate where you guys can actually debate about things rather than just scream at each other. It does me no favors whatsoever. So, if there are specifics, then actually, I would like to hear them as well.
I've already gone into them.
Flavius Asinasis says, for 50, thank you for the generous 50. Kim is a part of the Simpcast podcast. Aren't you just using your aunt's clout to make a name for yourself in the new media landscape, or are you jealous of Rachel's success?
Yeah, again, that was part of Andrew's claim that I must be jealous. No, I'm not a part of the Simpcast crew. I go on her podcast. It's irrelevant to this. She's a nice person and a good friend, and I like participating in the dialogue that happens there. There is actual conversation and substance. This was supposed to be a debate about the claim that she is trying to move the needle, and that's been diverted at every single possibility. It's been muted at every single possibility, and we're spinning ourselves in circles, going way past the time in order to do what? Like I said, this is it's
To
kind
hear
of
a valid point from you?
I've already done that.
Six of Spades said, I'm a former degen, corn addict, nihilist, atheist, thief, and loser. People like Andrew and Rachel and apologists like FDA and Jay have completely changed my mind on all of that and showed me Christ like I've never seen in my life before.
They show you Christ by being nasty and attacking people personally when they themselves have dirty pasts. Like, okay, sure.
Mem.
Well,
Birdman.
hang on. Hey, wait a second. Me, sure. Like, I'm a fucking bastard. I agree with that. But Rachel's a sweetheart. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Okay. Again, this isn't going to be a situation where I'm going to stoop to her level and go to personal attacks like she was so quick to do.
Mem Birdman said again, many, many times for 20. Rachel Wilson comes in and says, I've been a huge Ann Coulter fan since I bought my first book from her in 2005. She's the OG queen. Big shout out to her.
Okay. And she would specifically warn against the methodology that you use, which is what she told me from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Did Ann Coulter herself tell you anything about Rachel specifically?
I didn't ask her to.
So no.
I doubt she knows who Rachel even is.
Yeah, that seems unlikely.
It's not unlikely. People who have been in the sphere much longer than her also had never heard of who she is or who you were. So,
like who?
I don't need to name names.
Because you don't have any.
My
names?
boss over at National File, for one, who's been in this game longer than you by a substantial amount of time.
What's his name?
What's my boss? What's who runs National File? No, Fritch.
I've never heard of him.
Okay. He's not trying to make a name for himself. In fact, he was taking a back seat, just trying to support people. So,
well, someone who is trying to make a name.
That they should know him over. It's that people who are established in this still don't know who you are.
Like who? Well, hang on. He doesn't seem very established. You just said he took a back seat. Who are these established people? These big names who don't know who we are. I actually am curious.
People don't know my name, but people in that work in this know who I am because I do a lot of work in the background. Like,
yeah, but I'm asking you specifically out of like big recognizable names. Which ones do you think
I didn't go around and take
a
survey. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but which ones do you think?
I don't know. That's not what I'm here to.
But I mean, that seems like it's your claim. That seems like your claim is like, oh, they don't even know who you. I was like, no, I doubt very much that Ann Coulter doesn't know who we are. And you're like, no, I think that she doesn't. And it's like,
I don't think that she does.
Yeah, okay,
I don't think she would have any reason to know who Rachel or you are.
Yeah, right. Except that they're all over Joe Rogan. We're talked about all over the internet all the time.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Ann Coulter just disconnects herself from cultural commentary. I don't think so.
Yeah, because you guys are the peak of cultural commentary.
Not the peak, but we're deeply involved for sure, and definitely are large names inside of that sphere. I don't even think that's disputed.
Means Ann Coulter has to know who you are.
Doesn't have to. It just seems, like I said, unlikely. Didn't say anything other than the word unlikely, right? It just seems unlikely to me.
You won't substantiate that claim.
That it's unlikely. Yeah, I just did.
A claim I told you I think
it's unlikely.
Substantiate is that Justin Mertens is claiming that isn't this debate proof Rachel is moving the needle? Why else would Kim waste her time on Rachel otherwise?
Because Andrew asked me to debate him and I wasn't. And this is what he does. He'll go on and he'll say, debate me on this. And then he'll be really weird and impossible about timing and everything. And then he'll either back out of it or it'll turn into what this has turned into, which is
what
just
debates have I backed
trying
out?
to divert away from the actual topic, which again was totally opinion based in the first place.
What debates have I backed out of?
Numerous times you'll go again. I can pull up receipts if you'd really like to go into that at some other point.
Debate? Well, what debates have I?
What you'll do is you'll go on and you'll say, "Debate me, bro," and then you'll prove to be difficult and not actually follow through.
That was
on that.
easy. What do you mean? I was super easy with this. I was just like, here's okay. I even made time for it. I gave you a 2-week block. I gave you a 9-day block or something. You said you couldn't accommodate any of that. And I was like, well, then forget it because you don't have time. I literally rearranged my schedule to do this for today, came out publicly and said I rearranged my schedule to do it. It's been easy as pie to deal with.
That only happened because Paul Miller called you out. That only happened after Paul Miller said something.
First of all,
yes, 100%. And if we're going to go by force doctrine, if it comes down to the Paul Millers versus you, Paul Miller's going to win time and time again.
Win what?
By your own principle of the force doctrine.
What are you talking about? You don't even understand what force doctrine is.
Do
you think force doctrine is about people can beat other people up or in charge? Is that what you think it's about?
Your implication is that men can impose the force upon the women at any given time and take away those rights. And I'm saying that the majority of men who even do so much as like the bare minimum of like taking care of themselves and lifting would be able to outforce you.
Yeah. So first of
So there's a
all, you
reason
get
you didn't
forced
respond to
you
him.
get
There's a
forced
reason that.
doctrine. You get forced doctrine incorrect, and I'll correct it real quick.
Okay.
Forced doctrine is a descriptive claim about rights, specifically where women's rights come from, and that the
Okay.
collective of women get their rights collectively from men.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I can prove this is because men as a collective can give themselves rights and they can't be
Right.
taken away, but women can't do that. You notice that the word there is collective. Individually, men have equalizers. They have guns, they have the army, they have the police, they have all sorts of like individualized equalizers, same as men. Force doctrine is not describing equalization of individual force. It's describing collective force for the position of rights. That's a entirely different proposition. It's like, it's silly to me. Paul Miller or anybody else, for instance, I think Paul Miller is a UFC fighter,
No, he's
and
not.
quite a skilled one, right? Or
He's a professional Muay Thai fighter.
yeah,
Very
okay,
skilled.
sorry. Yeah, he's a professional fighter and quite skilled, I'm sure. In a physical confrontation, guy's been training for years. I'm sure I would have no chance. But the upholdance of law and order in this particular case, my appeal to men, it would be the same appeal. It would be collectivization. So he would be an adherence to the same laws of the land as me, and he would be into the same adherence to the equalization of firearms at the individual level as I would be. So force doctrine is talking about collectivization as it pertains to rights. It's not talking about individual force. Do you understand the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Well, Riot understands the difference, and he says, Kim, I hate when women psychologize like this the whole debate, but you honestly just sound resentful as you aren't as popular and influential as Rachel. But I'm glad the Wilson's big audience can make you known to move the needle.
I don't have a problem getting a big audience when I want a big audience. That's never been a thing. I'm not jealous of that. I'm perfectly comfortable with the little corner of the internet I've carved out for myself. And when I do want to reach a larger audience, I know how to do that. And I have done that.
And Rachel Wilson says, the book did well after my appearance on Tucker in February 2022 before the Crucible was big. It has
That's
now
right.
sold about 40,000 copies. No marketing team, no publisher, no agent, nothing. Just me and Andrew Cope. So, Kim, when you do say that, do you think that there's been like a marketing push behind the book, like an inauthentic marketing push, or what's the claim there, that it was AstroTurf somehow, or?
No, the claim is that people, 40,000 people reading her book since 2021 does not indicate a cultural shift, or that any of those people initially started out believing one thing and then were convinced of another. That's not what that proves.
They all just agreed with her, and that's why they bought the book.
Yes, like I said, she panders to a specific audience.
So you don't read any books that you disagree with the authors on?
I do, but I don't think that that's
You're
a
special.
commonplace thing.
Yeah,
No, I don't think that I'm special. I think that a lot of people are not interested in doing the deep dives, like she admits.
So
you're
you're saying you're special.
I don't think that I'm special. I think that I'm an exception. That doesn't mean that
That would be
I'm
special. You're in a special category. You're in
that
another
doesn't
category,
mean that
right?
That doesn't mean I deserve brownie points. It just means that I'm willing to do work that some people aren't willing to do.
Right. And of course, the people who buy the book, other people besides you, they're not willing to do that. They're just buying it because they just already agree.
They already believe. Yes.
Oh, I see. So, but not you though. You would never.
What do you mean? I would never.
Well,
I would never buy a book because I agree with it. I would buy. Yeah,
you would buy books because you want to get information out of them, which could influence your opinion about how you view the world. Just not other people. They're too fucking stupid, after all.
That's what you guys maintain. Is
these are
people
never
who don't come up. They don't have substantive
I maintain the
facts
opposite
behind their argument, and it doesn't matter when you give them substantive facts because their point is based in fallacy. It doesn't. It's all rooted in emotion. What you're saying is that people who need to have their mind changed are people who are not coming to this with authentic facts behind what they have to say in the first place. So presenting these people with fact isn't going to.
You just made all of that up. When have any of us declared any of that?
Not.
When have I ever declared that, or Rachel? Ever.
Again, in multiple interviews on Joe Rogan.
It's never happened once. Never have I said nobody will ever come and listen to me because they don't agree with me already, or they already agree with me. That's the only reason they come and they listen. Nobody's ever has had their mind changed by yours truly or Rachel. It's
I didn't say
never
nobody. I said
happened.
it doesn't. I said it's not a genuine push to actually change.
It is
things.
well, it is a genuine push. That's why we move into left-wing media as much as possible and tangle with these people in front of their audiences as much as possible. In fact, the thing that you'll hear the clip of me saying the most is I probably can't change the mind of the person I'm debating, but I've changed tons of people's minds in their audience. That's the clip you'll find me saying the most.
Okay, but I don't think that there's proof to that.
Well, the proof would be the DMs, the amount of people who tell me that that's the case, and the fact that the audience seems to exponentially grow the more that I go on left-wing channels, and they all say the same thing. These people are all saying the same thing to me, which is, hey, you changed my mind about a lot of these various things. Why do you think left-wingers go on right-wing channels? The same thing.
But they're doing
audience cap. They do. And they're doing audience capture. The whole point is they think that they can change the minds of many of the audience members. And I've had people, in fact, I just had one guy today. It was public on Twitter. He was like, man, I had the total wrong impression of you. I was publicly saying you were an asshole, you were a jerk, you were horrible. And then I watched you on Trigonometry and I talked to you in DMs with an alt account. He didn't know it was me. He's like, I had the wrong impression of you. And I was like, hey, shit happens, man. So he was basically saying, like, you changed my mind on this, but not just him. I mean, we're talking about thousands. If I could open up my DMs, in fact, I've done this for Jake and many others where I'm like, I can't keep up, but I'll scroll through. I'll be like, just keep scrolling and see when it ends. Jake, did it ever end? When I pulled up the DMs for the ones that are unread, and I'm like, okay, well, just start scrolling through. Did it ever end? Ever?
I don't even know if I remember this.
Oh, well, maybe it wasn't.
I don't know how you having a lot of DMs proves anything.
Because most of those people who are DMing me, right, are DMing me. This is the most common DM. This is the most common DM that I get, right? Okay. So all I'm doing is telling you, like, every morning I sit down with coffee and I go through DMs and I read as many of them as I can, respond to as many of them as I can. The most common one I get is, hey, man, at first I thought you were way too abrasive. I thought you were a jerk. I thought you were this and that. But over time watching you, I've realized that that's not actually the case. And you're just kind of normal. That's the gist of I would say probably, I don't know, 50, 60% of the DMs that I get. It is true. I get a ton of fan DMs. I'm not disputing that. I get tons of people who will be like, hey, man, love your work. Or, hey, man, I'm glad you're out fighting the good fight. Things like that. That 100% that's true. But but it's not actually the majority. The majority are like, hey, I actually didn't like you. And then over time, I grew to like you.
Okay. All right. Well, Jason Castle came in and said, Jake, what happened to Kim? Doesn't look anything like the girl in the video promo. Did Kim back out? Who's this Jay looking girl? Now, that is my fault because we put everybody through
Well,
AI.
hang on. Cut her some slack too. And you honestly should cut her some slack. You are pregnant, right?
Yeah, this is my fourth pregnancy in less than 5 years, and I'm about to give birth. So
cut some slack. Like I did go and review some of her early videos in preparation for the debate, right? And I guarantee you this is actually pregnancy weight. So I mean, even just recently before.
Well, I appreciate that. Your wife, on the other hand, was very, very happy to call me fat.
She didn't know. How would she know?
Do you guys not talk?
Well, I mean, we usually talk in the evenings, but there's no way for her to know that.
Well, again, when we announced the debate, what was it, yesterday or the day before, when the War Boy said they were going to cover, she said, "There's a debate happening tomorrow? I didn't know. What are they even debating about?" Like,
she didn't know. She doesn't pay that close of attention to who I book debates with. She just tunes in like everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, I usually don't even announce the debates that I'm going to do, except within about 48 hours of when I do them. Generally, it's not always the case, but it is mostly the case. And that aside, I'm throwing out an olive branch. It is in fact the case that I know for sure that this is pregnancy weight because I saw what you look like pre-pregnancy. So I don't think that it's catfishing and this and that. So I'm trying to cut some slack.
Well, I appreciate that. That's kind. And like I said, there's a reason that when she went there, I wouldn't go into the epithets because I'm not interested in her defense,
she didn't know you were pregnant. She didn't know you were pregnant. And in her defense also, can you at least admit that many women do catfish. And so it's a perfectly fair assumption for her to think, based on the appearance you have right now versus how you present yourself and social media, the vast difference in looks, she had every assumption or every reason to assume that you were catfishing. That's a reasonable assumption, and I just clarified it in good faith.
That's fine, but and again, she said she was listening from the beginning. I said from the beginning that I have no interest in going down the route that many have gone down before me and actually trying to dig into her personally, which you know, I'm a woman. I know how to take the shots that offend people, and I know plenty of people who are, you know, would and that wasn't the point of this, and I maintain.
Well, I think it's a shot. It's actually a shot right out of the gate when you pretend that the prompt of the debate itself, you're saying that a person's inauthentic and that the entirety of their body of work is designed specifically to be inauthentic, to only cultivate a similar audience against. Hang on, real quick. Against our own value structure. I think that you're actually entering into the debate immediately under an insulting premise. So, I mean, pretending that there's no insult here, I think is kind of disingenuous.
I'm not saying there's no insult. I'm saying I didn't get personal. I'm saying that I didn't say her body of work is what's disingenuous. I said that the intent that she ascribes to moving the needle, in my opinion, based on what I've observed, is the same kind of thing I was warned about when I got into this by people much smarter than me. And again, I'll probably double down a lot harder when my kids aren't small like she is. But that's not the point right now.
Not going to name the names of the people who warned you, of course.
I already did. It was Ann.
Ann Coulter?
Yes.
Oh, so Ann Coulter.
She said, "Don't fall into the trope of the like, I'm a woman. Hear me roar because I'm anti-feminist."
No. I mean, your claim that I feel like you just made a different claim. But that aside, what I'm saying to you is that you came in under the supposition, an already insulting supposition. The entire debate prompt is from its outset insulting. It would be like me saying, I'm going to debate with Kim Coulter on why she's a disingenuous grifter. It's like, I'm immediately insulting you within the parameters of the prompt. And then you're like, but you shouldn't say anything bad. It's like, but that's already baked in, right?
Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't say anything bad. The response to that is, yeah, well, you're fat. You know?
That wasn't.
Come on, grow up.
Wait. That wasn't her response to it. Let's be fair back. That's very disingenuous. Her response was to dive in deep into the actual microcosms of the things that you claim she's doing incorrect or that she's not actually covering. And you never actually did give any of those specific. In fact, Jake muted me so that you could give a specific example, and you couldn't even when I was muted. You just couldn't. You just could never do it. You just have never been able to the entire debate actually land the plane. I think if you came in with some micro specifics, if you were like, here's the things she should have covered, which she refuses to, she's a coward, this and that, I think that would have been more persuasive, but you didn't actually have those things.
But that was a huge part of my point in proving her lack of authenticity was in addressing the things that she won't address.
Yeah, I know, but when we go into specifics,
it's not up to me to address them. I'm saying that she's not doing that, and therefore it's not an authentic.
Okay, push. That's fair.
And I'm not even saying she's not an authentic person.
That's even fair. That I'm not disputing that's your claim. I'm just asking for a single specific.
Okay, and I believe I've given those.
It'd be like me sort of saying, well, Rachel doesn't address the Cookie Monster in her book. And then me saying, well, what did the Cookie Monster do? And then her saying, what did the Cookie Monster do? And I say, well, that's not what the debate's about. You should know what the Cookie Monster did.
Okay, and I think that that's a deflection from the debate.
By the way, this guy in chat, now this is meaningless, of course, right? I guess you'd just say it's biased, but he says, since I started watching Andrew, other influencers have definitely started saying and utilizing the same strategies and talking points as Andrew. Now, I've seen that myself, and I've even been credited by many of them for it, though some of them don't, which I'm fine with. I think arguments are for everybody. I wouldn't care if you went and used every argument that I had to great effect and made $1 gazillion. I think that's great. But I'm just saying that there's, right now, there's a reason that it's usually about 10, 12, 13, 15,000 people who will tune in for these debates. It's because genuinely both sides seem to care about what it is that I think about things. So I'm just saying.
Okay.
Rach came in and said that this explains a lot. Simpcast has done streams talking shit about me. Chrissy is friends with Brittany Venti. I have no idea who these people are. And is Simpcast, is that men doing a Simpcast?
No,
No,
it's a show by a comedian named Chrissy Mayer.
She does a
Who, by the
panel
way,
once a week.
They were that started off swimmingly and then went downhill quickly.
Glad it's not dudes. The real Robert Flowers for 20 said, Robert Flowers will point out that this chick refuses to commit to anything, yet she criticizes Rachel for not committing to anything. I'll spell out your argument. You're jealous, like insanely jealous, again.
I have nothing to be jealous of her for. She doesn't have anything that I need or want.
Six of Spades said, that wasn't a response to my point, dummy. They have changed my mind, so you're wrong, right?
Yes, they changed one person's mind, and that tells me that the cultural needle is being moved. Sure.
Justin O'Dizzle said, a
Sarcasm
very
isn't taking this
frustrating debate. Kim provides objective opinion, quotation, then refuses to provide any further specifics or, quotation, elucidation, while claiming she already has, quote, like she said, talking the audience in circles.
Yeah, this is an opinion-based argument.
But opinion-based arguments, when you justify your opinion, you usually, like even Brian Shapiro earlier when I debated him, he had various opinions about things, but he had supporting evidences which went down to micro specifics. That's really important when you're doing a debate, especially because when, of course, my counter is going to be, well,
Not when you guys tell me it's going to be an hour long and it ends up being 2.5 hours
Well, I didn't
long.
tell you
If I
that.
had known that we were going to have the time to go into it deeper and analysis of the things, I would have brought more notes than I have.
You've
But
had
the
weeks
notes
to
that I have
prepare.
are
You've had weeks.
Weeks? It was 9 days.
So
I don't know if
2
you
weeks.
organized an hour with whatever, but I don't think I would have agreed to an hour considering we normally go deeper into these things.
You
But
literally said you're actually the one that said we were going to do 5 minutes and then a 60-minute back and forth. If we were, again, I came with the notes to substantiate my claim and my claim
I usually
only.
do
I didn't
3-hour
come
debates.
here to go into a further diatribe of those points. I came in to just list, these are the reasons, in my opinion, that she has demonstrated a lack of authenticity in her intent. And I think that I demonstrated that. But again, if you wanted to go into that more, you should say we're going to have
So I said 5 minute each openers, 20 minutes each cross-examination, 60 to 90 minutes open dialogue, and then super chats.
No, what you said was we're
Do you
going
want me to pull up the screenshot? I'll pull up the screenshot.
You can, because you then said we're going to skip the 20-minute thing and we're going to go right into the 60 minutes of back and forth. That's what you said.
Okay,
so you can pull that up.
All right, where's Kim? Here we go. How do I pull this up? Let me just tech this for a second. Yeah, screen.
Woman, bring me a shot. I need one of that nice tequila. I'm a big fan of tequila, by the way.
How do I?
When I'm not pregnant, tequila is the only alcohol I like. So there's
tequila's
another.
great.
Well, there's
Look at that. We're finding common ground, Kim.
I think we have a lot of common ground.
You don't even have to hate me, Kim.
I don't hate you. Hate you would involve emotional investment. I don't hate either of you. That's not right. I don't have hate for you.
So you guys can see this, right?
I mean, it's small on my screen, but
we're going to pull it up. All right. So here's the bit that I said. So I said, normally the format is 5 minutes each openers, 20 minutes cross-examination each, 60 to 90 minutes open dialogue, and then super chats. And I said, however, I think because of the prompt, it won't be necessary to have the cross-examination and jump straight into the back and forth.
That's what I said. So 5 minute openings and 60 minutes.
But that would still be 60 to 90 minutes.
60 to 90 minutes,
an hour and a half
dialogue.
Plus super chats. That would still be an hour and a half plus super chats, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what I said.
And it's almost been 2.5 hours. So
yeah, but I mean, the common crucible debate is about 3 hours.
That's we could go back and forth about this, but the fact is, I came to argue a specific point, not to go into the individual things, because there's only going to be 60 minutes to do so.
That's not what was said, though. Even in the DMs.
That is what was said. Okay.
No, he said even if we eliminate the cross examination, be 60 to 90 minutes for the back and forth plus super chats. So the expectation there would be at least 2 hours, right?
Okay.
Wouldn't it?
Including super chats, yes, but that doesn't leave room to go into specific details about the stuff that I would have
I feel like 90 minutes, you could have had some supporting points for that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think so.
All right. Well, James came in and said Andrew got absolutely annihilated in this one. Closed casket. Way to go, Kim.
Got him.
And then Will Arnold said, Kim, can you identify the issues that you believe the Wilsons refuse to talk about to pander to their fan group, and why? And can you identify why? Neither of these questions have been answered. So, what are the issues, and why would they refuse to do that?
Again, the issue isn't that specifically they avoid to pander to their audience. I said the avoidance was part of the claim of lack of authenticity. The avoidance had nothing to do with pandering to their audience.
And then Shaw XD says, I was a milquetoast moderate libertarian Jordan Peterson type before the Wilsons. They massively changed my worldview in immeasurable ways.
Terrific. I'm glad that happens for individuals.
That's two. Wyatt Clark said for 20, Andrew and Rachel have shaped my views more than anyone else. I'm grateful for that, not one step back.
Okay.
And then William Flynn said the entire foundation of our argument is the Jews. It's tiresome, and I hate that Andrew is winning her over here. He's too gracious.
Look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There is a massive issue in the American electorate with Zionism and the idea of Jewish power through Zionism. That is, in fact, the case. I put 90% of that blame on Christian Zionism.
Yes.
And the reason that I do is because Christian Zionism is mostly responsible for the reason that Israelis are able to have so much control in the electorate. And Charlie Kirk was one of the people who was a big pusher of Christian Zionism.
That's true, too.
I've not only been abundantly clear about that, but I've never avoided that topic and have debated Zionism publicly many times, many times, including with massive Christian Zionists, huge creators who are Christian Zionists. Now, they may not agree with my opinion. Now, there is a distinction to be made, and the distinction to be made is that I do not believe that because you're Jewish, you're ontologically evil. I don't believe that you think, exactly, right, exactly. So I don't think you believe that either, is what I was about to say. I don't think Kim believes that because you're Jewish, you're ontologically evil. I think that that's an insane proposition. So, but that has nothing to do with the fact that I think that there's a Zionist power within the electorate. That's 100% the case. And me and my wife have both adamantly talked about that. But also, I believe that the true position is that you can criticize Zionism all you want and should. But I don't want to fucking pretend that Islam is not a massive problem right alongside it.
No, and I hope they bomb each other.
I think the most genuine people are the ones who say, fuck them both. That's what I think.
I agree.
All right, fantastic. Well, guys, those are the only 20s. I know, Kim, you're limited with time here, and you did want to get out soon, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, both of you, for jumping on today. It was it was a robust back and forth. So if you guys both want to shout yourselves out where they can find you, Kim, starting with you.
You could just find me on X. I'm on kind of a hiatus until after the baby's here, and I'm mostly just again doing background stuff, supporting people in the But you can follow the War Boys Studios. That's where all of us are publishing our stuff, and I'll go back to having a more consistent schedule once I've finally had the baby.
Can I take a second to congratulate you on your upcoming baby? I'm very happy that you're on your fourth, you said?
Yeah, it's my fourth in 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
May you have a fifth and a sixth, and may you and your husband enjoy life forevermore together with your children. You're never going to hear a criticism from me on something like that. You got any names? Do you know if it's
Paul.
A boy or a girl?
It's
Paul?
a boy. Yeah, Paul Henry.
It's a throwback. Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
People don't call their kids Paul.
Look,
these
I
days.
wish fuckers would call him fucking Paul and Steve and Jack more than they would call him fucking Braden and Hayden. That shit's
I have
gay
a
as
son
fuck.
named Jack too.
Jack is awesome, but isn't Hayden and Braden gay? That's gay.
It's super gay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
no,
Hayden.
it's super
Hi,
gay.
Hayden. It's fucking gay. And I know that there's people in the chat whose names are Hayden. I'm sorry that your parents did that to you. But.
Yeah, that's gay.
So anyway, look, Olive Branch here. Okay. I was willing to listen to your criticisms and I let you direct them at the person you had them to. And then I defended them tooth and nail. Of course, I'm going to defend myself when I'm attacked. Right. But I don't think we need to necessarily be adversarial.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that, like I said, my criticism is not that you're wrong, and it's not that I'm smarter than you, or I think I'm better than Rachel. I don't think any of that. I think that, and again, open to having the discussion, but I don't think she came in that with any genuine intent to have the discussion. She just wanted to kind of slam dunk.
Well, she refuted the points, I thought, pretty well. In her defense, Rachel, like, I'm trying to be as unbiased here, right, as I can be. I feel like she refuted the points fine. But that aside, like, how about this? Maybe we can do this. Maybe like as a point at the end of this debate. How about this? How about you lighten the fuck up and we'll lighten the fuck up? How's that for fair? Just lighten up.
Sounds fine to me. I'm all about that.
All right, let's do that. All right. I appreciate it, Jake.
All right. Good luck with everything, Kim. See you later.